order a meeting of the Hull Planning Board. It is April 8th, 2026, and it is about 7:36. If we could do a roll call, starting at my left of the Planning Board.
Nathan Payton.
Schulte.
Megan Riley.
Jean Paquin. And with us this evening, we also have the Design Review Board. Would you like to call your meeting to order as well? Yes, please. So I'll order at the same time, 6:37. 7:37. Thank you. Thank you. The Design Review Board, and do a roll call starting on my right.
Tom Burns.
Lisa French.
Marie Rocket.
Julia Parker.
Don Ritz.
Thank you very much.
Hold on
we-
one second.
Oh.
I think we're recording on top of the other meeting.
I'm stuck together.
There we go. All right. We're good.
Excellent, thank you. We are recording this meeting. Is anyone else recording this meeting this evening? Okay. We also have with us this evening Town Planner Christy Orio and Assistant Planner Matt O'Sullivan. And we have our proponents here. And we have John Chesia, our engineer, who did the review. I would like to now go into a continuance of a public hearing. We are doing a public hearing on the petition of the applicant, the Point Nantasket Realty LLC, 50 Milk Street, 16th floor, Boston, Mass, for a site plan review on land located at 839, 843, 845 Nantasket Ave, Assessors Maps 12, Lot 106, 108, 109, and 110. The applicant is proposing to construct a multifamily residential building with 9 townhouse-style units, approximately 17,436 square feet, an accessory pavilion building, approximately 600 square feet, and 2 accessory canopy structures for covered parking, approximately 5,297 square feet. The property contains approximately 3.28 acres. A copy of the plan is on file at the Town Hall on the 2nd floor for inspection by the public during operating hours or on the town's website. And I just want to apologize if anybody was trying to get onto our new website. If you went on, I think earlier today, not all the material had been uploaded yet. I think there was a little glitch in it, but now all of the materials for this project are on the website if you're looking for them. That said, the proponent has actually revised the plans, and so I would turn it over to them first to give us an update on the revisions and so forth.
Thank you, Chair Pickering. Good evening, everyone. You'll remember my name is Adam Brodsky. I'm a local land use and environmental attorney, and I represent the Point Nantasket Realty LLC, the applicant. With me is Pete Pitroff, representing the limited liability company. We have David Kelly from CEC. Unfortunately, Carlos Schulte was not available this evening, and David has gamely agreed to fill in. We also have Tom Fleck, who is our contractor and also a member of the ownership team. So we heard the planning boards and the public's comments at the last public hearing and have made material changes to the site plan in response. David will describe those in detail, but with your permission, I'm just going to hit a few high points. First, we've eliminated the proposed entrance driveway at Fitzpatrick Way, Nantasket Avenue, and Y Street, which is a source of concern of the neighborhood. We've eliminated parking beneath the cottages and eliminated the drive aisle within the site that you may remember was in front of those cottages. We've reduced the overall parking in response to a concern that the parking that we were proposing was excessive, notwithstanding the proposed parking meets all zoning requirements. We've eliminated the canopies over the parking areas, and we've redesigned the public pavilion so that it's elevated at the proposed boardwalk level, and the area below will also be programmed for public use. And lastly, we made a number of minor architectural changes to the cottages. All of these changes are captured in revised site development plans, revised architectural plans, and an updated narrative letter from CEC filed on April 2nd. We also provided, as requested, a transportation memo prepared by a traffic engineer, which confirms that the revised project meets all of the site distance and regulatory requirements. The traffic engineer, as you will note, does recommend that the site triangles for these driveways be maintained free of site obstructions, which is a standard traffic condition you find in many approvals. After David speaks, Pete can also speak to the renderings, which were also requested to provide. So with that brief introduction, I'm going to turn over to David Kelly, please.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. David Kelly with CEC. We had a little technical snafu, so I'm going to do my best to adjust what needs to be done on the computer and then get up and point at the same time. Hopefully I'm loud enough, you can all hear me. So the project, everyone's very familiar with the project site, what's there now, what's being demolished, and what the intended program of the project is. With that said, the updated plan, all right, I'm gonna slow down a second here, just let everybody see the overall view, and then I'll zoom in as I talk to some of the changes that were made since the last submittal. We did receive a letter from Chesia Consulting, which has several talking points in it. In this plan set that I'm going to go over, some of the points have been addressed. Some of the points are being taken into consideration and will be implemented on an updated plan set to be submitted. As Adam said, we heard a lot from the community. We heard a lot from the board, so we tried to get those big ticket items on the plans for this round to show everyone, how we're willing to cooperate with the community for this project. So as we talked about, the first change was to remove the entrance, which was in this location here. And then in association with that, the drive aisle that came across the front has also been removed. So we have been able to clean that up. The parking was a topic that was raised, with there being a lot of parking. So we have reduced that down to provide the 18 units or 18 spaces required for the residential units, as well as 4 parking spaces in that area for the boat ramp. And we have also provided 3 public spaces along the Nantasket Avenue for public use. Everything within the private right-of-way that runs diagonally across the plan there has been removed. No parking spaces are within there. None of the loading areas. Everything has been pulled outside of the private way. We have reduced the number of staircases on the boardwalk, and we've also moved the boardwalk to the Nantasket Ave side of the project instead of it being on the water side. There are now only 4 staircases to get up to the top, so it's a more clean view. There is a lift located at the public amenity building on the southern side of the site, which will allow for accessibility to the upper level. The public amenity pavilion has also been lifted up to the same elevation as the cottages to provide clear view across the property underneath the units. The parking underneath the buildings has also been eliminated, so we now have a very nice clear sight line to the water through the property as part of the project. As Adam had talked about, the canopies over the parking spaces have also been removed. So again, providing a much more clear, open, clean development with minimal obstructions from a visual standpoint. We have spaced out the 2 clusters of buildings to provide a much wider 17-foot wide gap between there to allow for a better pedestrian feeling and movement between them to get out to the water side of the project. We still have the public access pathway, right, located on the water side of the cottages. There are 2 elevated utility rooms, one on the northern side, one on the southern side, which will be used to house any of the utilities which would be common for the development. And lastly, as was said, there have been some architectural modifications to the buildings, and that pretty much sums up, in the key points of changes that have been made to this plan set. Getting into some of the technicality of the design and the stormwater, there were a couple of comments raised by Chesia regarding the underground infiltration systems. We have one located between each building. We're going to visit that and try and pull those out from under the building so that is no longer an issue. And there's also a storm drain up in this corner where we are making a connection, and there's a portion of that pipe, 10, 15 feet-ish or so, downstream of our connection, which we're going to look to upsize to allow for the increased flow from this development to get into that pipe and then get out adequately without causing any surcharge or backup. So I think at this point that pretty much reaches all the high-level changes that have been made to this point. But as I said earlier, there are a lot more comments in that letter from Mr. Chesia, which we are going to revisit and address in an updated set of plans. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Pete, do you want to talk briefly about the rendering, or do you want me to?
I think turn it
Oh,
over to
sure.
Tom
Tom?
to address that.
Hi everyone, my name is Tom Fleck. A lot of people in the room know me. I'll speak, I guess, briefly and just give a background of myself. I have been in the construction industry, residential construction industry, for 17 years. So this is what I do. I build homes, and I love it. I've been involved in a lot of very fun, interesting projects, and I will say that this project is probably, for me, one of the most exciting projects I've ever been a part of, and it's probably because it's near and dear to my heart. I grew up on Alderton Hill. My dad and mom still live there on Holbrook Ave. I grew up in the Point Alderton Association, going to the O'Laughlins for hot chocolate after Christmas caroling, the 4th of July games on Holbrook Ave. Like, I grew up in the neighborhood. Additionally to that, my dad also ran the boatyard that was on this property when we were all kids. Me and my 2 brothers and my sister. We basically grew up on the property. He ran the boatyard. My mom worked nights as a nurse. We had to get out of the house, and we'd end up at the boatyard. Like, this is where we spent our time as kids. So for me, there's a huge sentimental, emotional drive to do right by the project, and I think that the design that we've proposed has kind of been driven by that. I think that the team has been super proactive about reaching out to the community and taking the feedback. Pete, I know, has done a lot of outreach with the Point Alderton Association and abutters to take feedback and use that to kind of drive the design. I think that the driving ethos behind the project from the very onset was what is the highest and best use of the property. And I think that what we've put forth here, of course with the input of everyone that's driven the design, is what we've gotten to. I think that the design could be a lot different, right? I think that ultimately for us, we know that we need to put something forth that can embrace the community. I think the part of that driving ethos has been the community, and how can we create infrastructure around the actual development to promote community. And I think that what we've put forth does that with the concessions of the public access, the public pavilion that we want to use and we have different ideas. And in long term, I think ultimately for us, the goal is to be good stewards of the property. I think that additionally, in the connection I have to this particular parcel, my extended family has been good stewards of many abutting properties for 100 years, right? More. I don't know how long, how many years, but for us, that is our intention, right? Is to be good stewards of this parcel and find ways in the future to use it to create community and give public access and welcome the people that love the property. My dad, to this day, he'll still get the glint in his eye and tell me the story about how when he was a kid, he would go down to the north side and swim at the beach, right? Like, that for us is important, and we want to be able to maintain that. And I think that the design, again, with the feedback of everyone, reflects that. So as far as the architectural changes go, like at the last meeting, we were asked to provide some sort of visual given the world's technology that exists today. So this is what we came up with. It's not a perfect, it's a visual representation, right? So it is computer generated. It's not exact, but it's a visual representation of what we do on a build. The natural materials are represented. It's going to be wood exterior. It's going to be a metal roof. There were some small changes architecturally. We spent a lot of time since the last meeting putting forth what we actually want to build. So we spent a lot of time kind of figuring out the floor plan and putting the doors and windows where we think that they're going to be to accommodate the interior floor plans. So that really, architecturally and construction-wise, is what's driven us here. So I'm not sure that we have anything else to add. Pete?
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, so I think that at this point, we turn it back over and
Right, thank you. Thank you, Chair Paquin.
And I would just ask, Chris, do you have anything
Anything about
at the moment? Yeah, to any,
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that really jumps out at me, that I think could be a concern is the on-street parking, and, you know, who's actually doing the approval of something like that, if that was something the board wanted to move forward with. I think that would still need to go to the select board as traffic managers for something like that.
I was thinking the same thing. I would
Yeah.
think that the chief as well as the select board need to look at that, but.
Yep.
Chair Paquin,
That's all.
and we recognize that that's something that we're thinking about, but it's clearly at the discretion of the town. But we're willing to entertain the process. We think that providing public parking there would be a public benefit.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. It's just the matter of getting it approved correctly. And that is not something that we can approve. So we're on the same page with that. I think at this time, what I'd like to do is have the design review board weigh in.
Certainly, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
So the design review board met last night to go over the new plans. It's a pretty compressed time frame for us, so not all of the members were able to attend. But we did put together some high-level comments that I'll just go through. Some of them were in our previous letter. Building configuration was something we talked about, and really the question for us was whether this constitutes one building by code. So I know it's a question the building inspector and others have to weigh in on, but we did have questions about the cottages with the connecting walkway being considered one building. Architectural design, we did have some comments about whether it's reading as a cohesive cottage village, if that's the intention, and concerns about the walkway along the front. And I'll say that it does look very different in the rendering than I think what we were looking at in the previous elevations. But we did have concerns about it kind of giving a, for lack of a better term, a motel type of feel to it. So that was something we discussed quite a bit. The unit spacing, I know you've actually changed the spacing and made it tighter between the units, so you could open up that one location to 14 feet, I think it is. But there was, again, concern that it might be reading as a wall at that level because of the distance between the units. The pavilion public space, we did have some questions about it in terms of functionality, use at the lower level, and public access to the pavilion. There was discussion about public access to the boardwalk on the water side and easements that I think, you know, through the process, I would imagine would get clarified. But we did want to make sure that any type of public access was really clearly noted and that the design reflected that in a way that you could understand that where the public could go. Roadway status, again, that's something that came up previously as to whether Bay Avenue / Kadish is a private way. So I think you just described it that way, but I think there is a lot of documentation that it's a public road. So I don't know if, John, you...
I haven't researched the ownership of anything with the road. That's
Okay.
not a legal question, but it was one of my comments too.
Yeah.
Who has rights and all that. These ways are complicated. It probably could have been laid out in the 1800s, early 1900s, and
Yeah.
is, you know, who has,
So it came up at a town meeting, I think it was maybe 5 years ago, in terms of a land swap, but there just seemed to be open-ended questions about whether it's a private way and who owns the property on the northernmost side, which is labeled on the civil drawings as owner unknown. Parking and circulation, we were a little concerned about just the efficiency of the layout, so I know you've cut the parking considerably, but there being sort of no turnaround area or backup area on the large lot, and then having those 3 spaces right close to the in and out on Nantasket Avenue was a question we had. We did want to clarify just the building height and the elevations, so I think we looked at the space under the buildings at something like 7.5 feet, and it looks like the top height is 41.5. So I think it's slightly over what the regulations allow, no? So just want to clarify that on the plans. And we didn't get into really the storage, utilities, lighting, signage, and dumpster locations. So those are details we'd still like to go over. And I think the Dhaka Marina, I know that's come up a couple of times, just in terms of whether there's going to be public access and what type of parking demands might be related to it. And those are the main points that we touched on. Does anybody have anything they want to add? Tom?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest changes, in addition to the access being eliminated from the north end, was moving the boardwalk or the deck from the west to the east side of the building, and how usable that'll be in the wintertime with inclement weather and snow. Who would maintain clearance of that area? Also, lighting of the boardwalk, how that would affect the whole look of it. If at one point there might be a canopy over the boardwalk to maybe eliminate some of the snow and weather issues, what effect that would have. Maybe canopies over the steps, how they would be treated during the winter conditions. We had a snowy winter, but someone still would have to maintain that. I think the concern, some of the easements, whether they would become permanent, as they are now, they go through the property. The ones on the north side, the one in the center, and also down by the pavilion, whether that access would be memorialized as public easements. These would be, I believe, condominiums. At some point, that there would be an overall management company that would take care of the public amenities or the common amenities. And these buildings look great in a visual rendering. However, when things are built, they always don't reflect the renderings. A concern was the view underneath the structure is great, but if someone does have bicycles or kayaks or other things they need storage for, where would that be? Because there's no storage at all on this site. How that will be addressed. I think it's unrealistic to think that people wouldn't have needs for storage unless you're looking at off-site storage, but there was a big question mark over the pier and the marina, and I realize that this is something that you want to address later on. But how that would work, there's, I believe, a solid pier right now, or there's a pier that's on, that's stationed into the ground through pilings. There was an extended pier, what is it, 8 feet by 100 feet. How that would be anchored, how that would be maintained, how access to those areas would be controlled. You know, we had like 5 or 6 pages of comments, so just the top of my head, those are some of the major ones. The walk, the public access walk in the front, when we did the site review this past Thursday, walking around the building, it was, where will that public access walkway, harbor walk, for lack of a better word, how that would work into the project? We were concerned about the signage, that the signage would clearly indicate that this was public access. And as Julie brought out, there things like signage and dumpsters, some of the fundamental things that we usually look at weren't presented, and realizing that this is a process that will take happy to look at that. The lift at one end is, it's an accessibility lift. I guess you could call it an elevator, but how that would be managed by the public, in that the concern was that the pavilion being on the second level, that if you didn't take the accessible lift, then that wouldn't be available to you, and that area could in the future, year 1, 2, or 3, tend to be part of the cottage area, and not so much a public area. Now that could be handled with signage, but it also, it should be clear if that's the intent. So, like I said, this is, we got the plans just 2 days ago. Most of our comments were based on the previous plan, and the changing the boardwalk to the front of the structure is unusual. The rendering is pretty, but it doesn't really depict Nantasket Ave. On there, it appears to be a very beachy situation. In fact, you'd almost think that was from the beach perspective, the way it's represented. It's not what's there now. It's not to say that it couldn't be landscaped that way, but that's on the Daily Wanzer XYZ parking lot. And it looks inviting to see underneath the cottages. One of the discussion was these piers would be vertical. There wouldn't be any triangulation to hold the structures on. These would all be just pinned. Whether that can be accomplished. And to have the boardwalk just feet from Nantasket Ave, approximately maybe 10 feet in the air. I don't know, what's that, 120 feet, 150 feet long? right on Nantasket Ave. Frankly, if the boardwalk was on the bay side, each one of these cottages would look more distinctive themselves. It would be representative to what most of the housing in town is, that most people don't have a boardwalk 10 feet in the air in front of their house, as well as the steps. The reduction in the steps, the number of steps is a great move, but at the same time, that's right on the street. And the only parcel I can think of in town is right next to the Hull Seaside Animal Rescue, where we have stairs that face right on Nantasket Ave, which is not attractive. It's a necessity, but it's something that if the boardwalk could be where it was originally placed, each of the units would have a more distinctive individual characteristic appeal. Right now, it's hidden by, are the balusters going to be wire, or will they be, these are fine-tuned design features that we didn't go through, but these are things that we would look at ultimately. Okay, done.
Yeah, the boat ramp at the end of V Street is really a de facto public use ramp, and the applicant has said that they wanted to keep it that way, which is great, and just think that should be kept as an official easement for that purpose. That's one comment. And related to that is on V Street, again, a sort of de facto situation is that there's not signed or anything, but parallel parking along the property across the street from the boatyard, and I think that should be formalized and in a similar way as whatever might happen with those Nantasket Ave cut-ins there. I know that's not, this has to be in conjunction with the select board, et cetera, but I wanted to bring that up, that's definitely part of the site here, is that I think to address some parallel parking there on V Street, which is related to the ramp, because that's, people that have used the ramp park there, and also to access the boatyard. That's it.
Yeah. Couple things in addition to what's been said. The renderings, the first time I'm seeing them, the materials look very nice. Does look nicer than what I imagined. But still, what you're showing are groups of 3 buildings. When you look at the plan, you're not showing what it will look like with the 6 of them in a row with 7 feet between them, which from any angle is not going to look like an opening. It's not going to look like an opening at all. Which, I don't know what I don't know the motivation. These are 9 separate buildings. They're written as cottages. They say cottage 1, cottage 2. The state building code says specifically that a boardwalk or a walkway linking between multiple buildings does not make them one building. They remain separate buildings. The building code says that, and the definition in our bylaw for building says it's a structure with a roof. Well, it does not mean that multiple structures with roofs become one building. It just doesn't make any sense. So we don't have anything in our code, in our bylaws, that describe this kind of a project with separate structures so close together. So it seems like a real issue. Then if they're so close together, they look like one massive long building there. Massive building. Even though it's raised, I think everybody should consider that, what that will actually look like. Because it will be different than looking at groups of 3 of them. It will have a different impact. The other thing I'm looking, we discussed last night, we tried to see the setbacks along the front in particular. It looks like you have 17.3 from the front property line to the building, but that's not the walkway. It's shorter to the walkway. What is it, like 7 or 10 feet or something to the walkway? Now, picturing being there on the sidewalk, that elevated walkway is just going to be, 8 feet, 7 feet away from your head. It's going to be odd. And it will not look like this sandy beach in front. There will be the road there. The road will be very close to the walkway in the front. So that's it. I don't think that will be as attractive. If it looked more like this, it's one thing. I don't think that's going to look like that. The other thing we discussed last night, several people brought this up, that the pavilion, it looks better in the rendering than it did in the drawings, thinking about it. However, I still don't think that it's very attractive. But the bigger issue is this. It does not look like it's public. It will not look like it's public. Like people can walk in there because you've got the parking all around there. And it's so close to the southernmost cottage. It's so close to it that it's really going to look like it's tied to the other buildings with that elevated walkway. And I don't think generally the public is going to feel like that's a welcome space for them. So, and I guess I have a question of the 4 public parking spaces just to the south of the pavilion. Are those the 4 public spaces? Okay. Well, again, you have to turn into what looks like a private area, although we know, well, Bay is a public right-of-way, but it's not going to look that way with that setup with the parking over there. So if you go forward with this, I mean, I understand you had to move the pavilion. I understand the logic of it. But I have concerns that if you really are willing to make it public, a public amenity, that it be made very clear some other way. Signage, I don't know. I don't know what can be done, but as it is, I don't think it's going to read that way.
Great,
And the one more thing, because that somebody else brought up before, if you imagine turning into this driveway here and parking, you imagine coming south on Nantasket there and turning in there, and you see those 3 little spots. That's like an impossible turn. And if you turn into the parking space there and you're in the southernmost places, you can't back out and turn around to get out of there. There's no place to like back up if other cars there. It's really tricky. It's really tricky parking.
Great, thank you. Brian?
I just have a couple things
And
in
I-
addition to everything.
And I just want to introduce you.
Yeah,
Brian
oh,
Ulo
sorry.
is a board member, and he had to join us a little
Yeah, I
late.
was a little late, sorry. Considering the parking, it doesn't look like you've accommodated any sort of accessible parking. Like just ADA parking is not represented.
There's one spot. It's
Is
actually,
there-
it's kind of dark, and it's at the end of what he just identified as visitor parking.
And it has the van
Yeah, it does.
thing?
It does. It's
I mean,
just.
so okay, great. So the other one is just to consider emergency services. Fire, does this meet the fire hose lay distance? Because you can't get around. What if somebody's trying to, an ambulance is trying to get in, to help somebody, or if one of these units catches on fire, can the fire department actually get to it?
Great, thank you, Brian. Okay, we're good, thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you. As always, your work is appreciated. The next thing I have on the agenda would be having John Chesia, he is our consultant, give his report.
Sure.
Thanks, John.
So, as you are familiar, I write a fairly detailed letter that goes through all of the, you know, the regulations and, discusses them in detail, and then I've prepared a summary sort of for this meeting and for the board to sort of talk about. Some of these issues, could be addressed in the revised plans, which really there wasn't enough time for me to work on those. I don't know if it was even the intention to, because they haven't responded to the original letter yet. Usually it's, they'll respond to my letter and we'll go over those things then. But, and as was already discussed, the plan does say one of the lots is owners unknown, which right off the top is somewhat confusing. And then how many rights, how are the rights associated with Bay Avenue? Those are questions that the board should get answers for. The other thing is, you know, part of my thing is you've got to get comments from everybody. You have the design review board. There's also, and I have seen some of the comments that have come in. They are tying into town utilities, including stormwater, so the highway department should get involved with that. And they should have a conversation, you should get their comments. It's not always easy to get comments from the various departments, everybody's busy, but it's important when you have a direct connection at two different locations, and there's the capacity there, and, you know, there's potential issues with that. There is a catch basin essentially at the intersection of Bay Avenue, you know, the unbuilt street that's gonna be their access, and Nantasket Ave that I looked at it too, I've been out to the site, it's filled with dirt, you can't really see where it goes, but it must go somewhere, because I drive by there a lot, and it's been raining a fair bit recently, and there's never really a puddle there, so the water's going somewhere, so you gotta get that figured out, where does it go? Because theoretically, it could go to the beach somewhere, because I drive by, again, all the time, and when it rains, sometimes the pipes are exposed. When the tides come back, then they can't see them. So there's a pipe at each end, the north end, that goes across that sort of owner's unknown parcel. This catch basin, you can see it sort of right at the intersection when you drive by, and the pipe comes out. It's buried in the beach. Then when you get enough rain, it unburies itself. So there could be some other pipe in the middle that goes out of that other catch basin that hasn't been found. Point is that not all pipes are exposed all the time, so there could be a pipe, we just don't know where it is. That needs to sort of be figured out, in my opinion. There's, you know, it was brought up that there's drainage systems underneath the buildings, and my understanding, anything under the building is subject to plumbing code, and that's generally not allowed to have that type of a thing. Another comment is, I guess they did provide a traffic memo. I'm not a traffic engineer, and I don't know if the board wants a traffic engineer to review it. If it's primarily on site distance, I can look at that aspect, but if it's traffic and conflicts and things like that, that's sort of outside of my expertise. Another sort of lot question. It's multiple lots out there now, and ultimately, is it intended to combine them all so that you don't have potential to transfer lots in different ways? Usually when something like this is done, all the lots get combined, and a plan is filed to sort of record that. The Ware River water system, I think they did have comments, and they discussed potentially having individual connections to each unit from the road versus the water main loop that's kind of going through there. With the extension of I mean, I guess it remains to be determined. Design Review Board says that's 9 buildings. They're saying it's 1 building. If the walkway thing is a building, again, then the water, right now it's outside of it. I think the sewer's underneath it. You run into building issues with how things are designed. The other thing about the water is there's no hydrant proposed, or there wasn't a hydrant proposed on the initial plan. I've driven by a few times trying to see where the nearest hydrant is. I know there's one to the south a bit. I'm not sure where the next one is to the north, but something like this, the fire department might want a hydrant like right in front. So they should get comments from them on that issue. This, likely there'll be underground electric and you have transformers and things like that that will affect what the site looks like. They can be kind of big and they have bollards around them and things like that. So that's something that you can talk to Hull Light and they'll probably give you some insight on that. The plans changed, so the landscaping's probably gonna change too, and I'm not a landscape person, but the board should definitely look at that. That's always an important feature. This is obviously a coastal site, like most places in Hull. It's subject to flooding. It's got multiple different flood hazard areas within it. It's a barrier beach for part of it. I don't believe that the wetland resource areas have been confirmed by the Conservation Commission, and that can affect things. So the limits of those issues those resources may affect certain things. I get that the buildings are raised, and that's obviously a requirement of the building code. In the floodplain district, there is a thing about this. It took me a little bit to find this, but apparently this floodplain maps that show where the floodplain would be, there's like a 2.4 foot rise and a 1.2 rise, and in the floodplain district bylaw, it discusses listing that on the plan if the board wants to see it. I believe these are above the, there's a V zone, there's an AO zone. AO is, I think, elevation 10. The V zone is 15, and then there's a, so the AE is 10, the AO is a depth of 2 feet, which is only in the southeast corner of the parking. So what it's saying is you have overwash from the ocean side as well as V-zone on the bay side. It's kind of complicated from flooding issues and things like that, but those are things that Concom is probably going to weigh in on this. I believe the site's, according to Mass GIS, Chapter 91, which I believe is probably one of the reasons there's all the public walkways too, because that's a requirement, Chapter 91 sites. I reviewed the old parking and access, and I did see a lot of problems with that. I don't think that you could have had the access in front of the buildings and been able to even get into the parking spaces, because you only had a 14-foot aisle, and you'd just be, it would be a problem anyway. But I have not looked at this one in detail, didn't have enough time. Usually, if it is a loading area, how is this gonna be, but when you get that many units, where like Amazon, UPS, things like that, is there a central area that'll go to? I don't know that you're gonna get an Amazon guy to climb up the stairs and run to each unit. Those are things that may wanna just sort of think about, discuss. Under the stormwater section, I have a bunch of comments on that. I know they're gonna respond to these, but, again, they're tying into the town. They're not proposing any new outlets of their own. They're tying into the town system on the north end and on the southerly end. They'll need to understand that system. What's the impact? I know that was discussed with a larger pipe, but what are the existing flows? How's that all work? Is this gonna have an impact? I don't think any water from the site currently goes into the V Street outlet. Some of the site actually flows towards Nantasket Ave and goes into either the catch basin at Bay Avenue intersection or the catch basin down by the Fitzpatrick Way, Nantasket Ave intersection there. Some of the water goes to that. It might behoove the applicant to sort of determine how much goes where, so they can kind of make a case for why they're able to tie in and assess the impacts in the different areas. There were some grading issues, in my opinion, on their watersheds. So this is a site that's tributary to the ocean, obviously, and the Conservation Commission can waive runoff rates from a place like this as long as they're not impacting the pipes, because usually runoff rates from stormwater is something that's going to cause flooding, and rainfall compared to a coastal storm is not gonna be an impact. It's coastal storms that cause the flooding. So if they have enough capacity in the pipes and if the DPW allows them to connect, and they shouldn't have an impact with rates. But I reviewed it, they didn't ask for that waiver at this time, so I reviewed it as if it should, and there's a bunch of issues with some setbacks and watersheds. They had grass cover underneath that whole, when the backside it was the boardwalk. Nothing's gonna grow under the stairs or under it's like a deck, nothing's gonna grow under that. There's probably gonna be a hard time to get much to grow here anyway, it's pretty, sandy area, beach condition. Soil testing, they may need to do some more depending upon what they finally come up with. And typically on sites like this where you do have underground infiltration systems, you wanna make sure that seasonal, annual, big tides don't back up into it. So they show on the plan the mean high water, but we all know if you've been around here that there's lots of times when the tides are higher than mean high tide. You get king tides, you get things like that. They happen every year. How high is that, and how high is that relative to backing up the pipes and into the system? Is the system's overflows high enough so you won't have that type of problem? If you get a 100-year flood, all bets are off. But if you have normal, high annual tides, it shouldn't flood into the system. So this, I think the main issue from stormwater on a site like this is really treatment, because it's clam flat, sensitive area, critical area they call it. So you want to make sure that everything that comes in is clean and treated. They don't have a paved access, it's all crushed shell. I don't know if the board's talked about that at all, if that's okay or not. I couldn't find any specific requirement. It's just supposed to meet certain stability conditions, et cetera. I'm not sure how that works with the road portion that kind of is, the parking, maybe they could do that. I don't know about the road thing, but maybe some questions on that the board wants to look into. And lastly, ultimately, this project would require what's called a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which is an EPA federal thing, but it's a relatively tight site to do all that stuff, so construction impacts. It's a busy area. You want to have everything sort of laid out where stuff's stored, where people park, how you're going to stage the materials, how you're going to prevent, runoff issues, tracking issues, all those sorts of things. So those are sort of my summary comments, and if you have questions on any of the specific things, or I know we're gonna end up getting a letter to respond to this, and this is probably all gonna change again, but for now, if you have any questions for me, we'll try to answer.
Does the board have any questions at this time? Tom?
Hi, Jean. Yes, Mr. Kelly pointed out that there are two locations for utilities. The plan we saw last night, it appeared that there was gas hookups to each of the units. And I think initially, these were all gonna be heat pump heating. And with water and sewer, as well as gas, that would have to go up in some kind of corridor or conduit to the second floor. I would imagine that it would have to be heated to prevent freezing. And if it is gas, then I guess we would look at gas meters for each of the units and where they would be. Just utility location and meter location. Whether it could be done in those two locations or three locations or two locations that you suggested earlier, up by the north end and one down by the south end. So if that's done, usually meters are put on the units themselves for electricity, and I believe also for gas. So to have remote metering of a facility is I don't know if that's done. So,
Okay, thank you, Tom. At this point, I have a number of letters. Do we have to read the entire letter into the record?
Are you talking about, department comments?
Yeah.
No, I don't think you need to read them.
Okay, I will make a note. There is one that I will read, because it is something that has come up tonight, and I just want people to know that there has been a response to concerns. One of the letters that I have received is from the building commissioner, and it was dated yesterday, because it is a question that I did pose to him. Hi, Jean, I wanted to respond regarding the zoning determination for 839 to 845 Nantasket Ave. The plan presented to the building department shows multiple dwelling units connected by decks with a series of awnings. When making the zoning determination, I took to the Town of Hull zoning law, chapter 410, article 2 definitions. Number 1, awning or canopy, a roof-like structure of flexible material stretched over a frame. Number 2, building, combination of any materials, whether portable or fixed, having a roof to form a structure for the shelter of persons, animals, or property. For the purposes of this definition, roof shall include an awning or any similar covering, whether or not permanent in nature. As the zoning enforcement officer of the Town of Hull, I have determined that the proposed multiple dwelling units connected by decks is considered one building according to the Town of Hull bylaws, chapter 410, article 2 definitions. Bartley Kelly, Hull Building Commissioner. So, our building commissioners made this determination, and I just wanted to get something from him in writing so that people were aware that is his interpretation of the zoning. And this is what he does, so, if people take issue with it, then I would approach the building commissioner. But for our purposes and intents, he has said this is a building and we are reviewing the project. So, there is that letter. And then we have received letters which are on our site, so you can read them. But some of them are quite long. We have received a letter from the harbor master. And on that one, his concern really is where would 300 feet of dock be stored in the off-season. That was essentially his large question. Sewer department, it's rather extensive and technical, so if you are interested in that, this is a letter from, let's see, Thomas Molinari, and it's dated March 18th, 2026. And that can be found as, with all the backup on it, on our website under this project. Excuse me for flipping through here. We have received a letter from abutters. Unfortunately, there's no date on this, but it is a letter from George Boylan from 150 Kadish Ave, and it is referencing the project. And I will read this. It's not too long, but I think it's worthwhile. There are abutters. I know this is the beginning of a lengthy process, but wanted to make the board aware of some neighborhood concerns regarding this project. I'm submitting this letter on behalf of the more than 70 people who signed a petition regarding this project. calling for no direct access to Kadish Ave at the property to be developed, commonly referred to as XYZ Street property. Following is the language of the petition. The petition was signed by residents of Kadish, Q, R, S, and T streets, as well as others who regularly walk or bike in the area. Signatures from those not living directly in the neighborhood were collected on Thursday evening from those who regularly walk and bike this stretch of Kadish Ave. We, the undersigned, are opposed to allowing any direct access to Kadish Ave from any development at parcel of land at 839, 843, 845 Nantasket Ave, commonly referred to as XYZ Street property. This stretch of Kadish Ave was made one-way in 2018 due to safety concerns with areas of the street as narrow as 12 feet and poor condition of the roadway. As a result of the change, an even larger number of people regularly walk and bike this stretch of Kadish Ave. Allowing direct exit onto Kadish Ave will create increased traffic flow on the side streets from V to Q Street, as well as create safety concerns for pedestrians and bike riders. With a portion of the property where the restaurant and boat repair shop are located, I believe is zoned commercial property. There's no indication in the plans that I have seen what the developer plans for this area. It has been indicated that the developer intends to provide some sort of docking for at least the residents that will end up being open to more than residents, with the plan showing a long dock that appears likely. The potential for commercial use or just traffic associated with the boats being launched raises a strong likelihood of increased traffic on Kadish Ave, including trailers hauling boats and other potential traffic concerns related to possible commercial uses. The increased traffic will also have an impact, most likely on R and Q streets, as trucks, trailers, and cars attempt to reach Nantasket Ave and Central Ave. Along the potential safety concerns, additional traffic will also impact the already deteriorating road condition and continual erosion of the bay, exacerbated by vehicles attempting to drive on some very narrow portions of Kadish Ave and catching the edge of the bay. In 2018, at the recommendation of the police department, that stretch of Kadish was made one-way going from V to Q, eliminating the flow of traffic coming from Central Ave, greatly reduced the amount of traffic on Kadish Ave. As a result of this change, Kadish Ave has become an extremely popular walking and biking area, and many come regularly to partake of the beautiful sunsets over the bay. Adding the potential of increased traffic and possible commercial use, these activities will face an increased safety concern for the walkers and bikers and others on Kadish Ave. The developer is currently seeking approval for relief of some existing requirements from the ZBA. I know the planning board considers neighborhood concerns when possible. I hope the board will take these concerns into consideration. Nantasket Ave is equipped to handle this kind of traffic. An appropriate solution would be to not allow any direct access from V Street or egress onto Kadish Ave from the development, with the only entrance and exit being on Nantasket Ave. There is currently a pedestrian warning light on Nantasket Ave where the development will be. Making an entrance exit there with a traffic light paid by the developer will not only provide safe entrance/exit to the development, but a calming effect of vehicular traffic in this area of Nantasket Ave. Sincerely, George Boylan. He attached pictures and numerous signatures. So there was a letter and petitions. Other correspondence, forgive me. We have heard from the chief police. He has a number of concerns, but that was prior to the new plans. So we would like him to review the new plans and then give us other comments or, additional comments, as well as we will give him the traffic transportation letter that you have provided, as well as the new plans. I got that one. That's from sewer. Forgive me for a moment, just. We also have a letter from Russell Tierney, who is with Ware River. Let's see. And then We have a letter from another resident, Marie Wendling, 18 Mayflower Road, Hull, Massachusetts. It was addressed to Chris, myself, the Design Review Board, Dear Director Diorio, and board members. This letter is a follow-up to clarify and document the concerns I've expressed at the February 12th, 2026 Design Review Board meeting and the March 18th Planning Board meeting regarding the proposed redevelopment of 839, 843, and 845 Nantasket Ave. Though I have many concerns about the proposed project, this letter focuses on three major issues: site density, the wall effect, and ownership and use of Bay Ave, the continuation of Kadish Ave from V to Nantasket Ave. Number one, site density. The current structures on 839, 843, and 845 Nantasket Ave have a total site footprint of 10,375 square feet. This figure is the sum of the first floor living areas of each of the three main buildings, first floor decks, porches, and detached sheds and barns, as per the Town of Hull Assessors Database. The assessor records show a shed at 845 Nantasket Ave. I'm assuming this is a gazebo, and I have included it in my calculations. The proposed structures will have a total site footprint of 15,956 square feet, an increase of 54% in site coverage. This figure is the sum of the first floor living areas of the 9 condominium units and the shared residential deck and covered parking areas in the pavilion as per the plans submitted by the applicant. My calculations are shown in the table below. And Marie has included a lengthy table. I'm aware that the footprint of the proposed structures may be less than 30% maximum allowable site coverage per zoning. However, it's my understanding that your approval authority includes consideration for design guidelines such as relationship of buildings, structures, and open space to the natural landscape and existing buildings and structures, as well as the principles of preservation of landscape, community impacts, relation of proposed buildings and structures to environment and vistas and view corridors, as was mentioned several times throughout both public meetings, and the proposed density of this project creating 54% more site coverage will significantly negative impact on all of the above areas of concern. The wall effect. The three main buildings currently on site have a total linear footprint of 169 feet, with a notable 70 plus or minus linear feet of open space between the building at 839 Nantasket Ave and the building at 843 Nantasket Ave. There is just 8.5 feet between 843 and 845 Nantasket Ave. I calculated the total linear feet by adding the front building dimensions, including front lines of side porches and decks based on the excessive sketches. The proposed building does not offer any breaks or open spaces with a nearly 300-foot-long shared deck connecting the 9 24-foot-wide condominium units. The applicant is proposing just 9 feet between the dwelling units. 5 of the 8 9-foot spaces will be filled with a stairway. The applicant claims that 9-foot spaces will provide for view corridors. I strongly disagree. The two northernmost existing buildings are 8.5 feet apart. Most people I've spoken with thought that they were one building, as there clearly is no view corridor in an 8.5 foot by 34 foot tunnel. Please take note of this when you conduct your site visit. My calculations of linear footprints are shown in the table below. The proposed development eliminates 70 feet of open space between the existing buildings, increases the linear footprint by 76%, and will create a 300-foot-long wall blocking all vistas and views of the bay. Ownership and use of Bay Avenue. At one point, Kadish Ave was called Bay Ave. A portion of the old Bay Ave runs from B Street and Kadish Avenue to Nantasket Ave, diagonally across 839 Nantasket Ave. Assesses parcel 12-106, splitting that parcel into 2 sections. At the planning board meeting, the applicant referred to this section of Bay Avenue as a private way and claimed that it is owned by multiple parties. The existing conditions site plan submitted by the applicant shows that this road as not constructed, not private. Typically, when a road or private way is private, it is noted as such on a survey and site plans. Town records indicate that this portion of Bay Ave is not a private way and is in fact public. As of today, March 24th, 2026, Town Clerk Laurie West stated that the town shows Bay Ave extension described as Nantasket Ave to Stony Beach Railroad Station to Nantasket Ave near Y Street as public. In 2019, an article was submitted to town meeting by the town manager regarding this specific section of Bay Ave, also known as a portion of Kadish Ave and V Street. The article sought to approval to negotiate a land swap for this section of road in exchange for the northernmost parcel of the proposed development site, Assessors Parcel 12-110. The article was moved, no action, and the motion passed unanimously. The same article was presented again in 2022 by the town manager and was again moved, no action, with the motion passing unanimously. Advisory Board Member Pat Cormier recalls that the reason given for moving no action at both town meetings was that the owners of 839, 843, and 845 Nantasket Ave, ARC DC LLC, and Robert Proctor were in litigation. The consensus was that it was not an appropriate time to propose negotiating a land swap, and that the matter would likely come up again once the property owners settled their court case. The 2019 article is shown below. And she has inserted the article. The language in the article indicates to me that Bay Ave, known as a portion of Kadish Ave and V Street running to Nantasket Ave through the parcel known as the Assessor's Map 12, Lot 106, is a town-owned public way based on language in this article, relinquishing any or all of the town's right, title, and interest to this parcel would require a vote by the town meeting to authorize the select board to negotiate terms by which said rights would be relinquished. This poses several issues with the applicant's proposed plan, including the following: site access and egress. Plans utilize Bay Ave as the only two-way means of access and egress to and from the parking area serving the development. Encroachment, the proposed parking structures and curbing encroach on the town-owned public way. Stormwater management and drainage systems. The proposed plans indicate drainage system infrastructure under Bay Ave. Is this allowable under a public way? The issue of ownership and rights to Bay Ave and the impacts on possible development must be resolved before this project can be permitted. Finally, a couple of topics were touched upon at the planning board meeting that I believe deserve more attention and scrutiny. First, the applicant referred to the existing buildings as a rooming house. That's not true. Public records show that there are 4 rooming houses in Hull. None of them are located at the proposed development site. The existing structures were a mixed-use commercial and residential building, former marina, restaurant, and residential apartment, and 2 residential apartment buildings. Second, some people have suggested that the proposed development is significantly less dense than the existing structures. While there may be fewer individual units, 9 versus 26, the proposed gross building area, not including parking structures and pavilion, is only 10% less than what is there now. A 10% reduction in gross building area, while losing 17 housing units, dramatically increases site coverage and eliminating existing view corridors and vistas does not constitute a win, in my opinion. I appreciate your thoughtful consideration of these concerns, and I hope that you will keep these issues in mind while you conduct your site visit and thorough review process. Sincerely, Marie Wentling. We have the design review board, as well as, okay, that is it for letters right now. And we are still awaiting a letter from fire. What was that?
I said update from police.
Update from police,
Conservation.
conservation. So we still have some letters to get. Okay, at this point, I would open it up. First, I'll open this up to questions from board members. And then we will open it up to questions from the public. And if everybody can remember to be recognized by the chair, and if you can give us your name and address, that would be appreciated. So first, we'll have the board ask their questions. Anyone?
Not at this time.
Not at this time? What's that? Okay. If that is your pleasure, that's fine. We'll go to the public first. Okay. Does anybody have any questions here this evening? Sir in the blazer.
Spencer O'Loughlin, Old Dickey Road, in Hull. I just have a question about the public building. What is the intent of having it be public versus private and just part of the development?
Chair Capron?
Yes.
That will be a public building. We will provide signage to ensure that it is a public facility. There's no intention to privatize that. It's a requirement of this project and will be subject to conditions by the planning board.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick follow-up.
Spencer?
But is the intention to have it be like a restaurant at some point? Or why not, I'm saying, why not just have it part of the development and it's not public?
No, sir, there's no intention that it be a commercial building of any sort. It will be programmed for public use. I believe the Point Allerton Association has interest in making use of that. So that will have to be programmed consistent with our intent that that be a public accommodation and unrelated to the private tenancy.
It's too small for the cocktail party, so.
I can't speak to that, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sorry, could I
Chair
say,
Hickman,
Yes.
yeah, on the public building piece, as Adam mentioned, if there are members of the public that have interest in helping shape the usability of this, whether that be kayak storage or cocktail parties, right? We'd love to figure that out with you.
Okay. Sir?
Hi, Stephen Coca, resident of 5W Street. So I'm hearing a lot about kind of density, sight lines. You talked about the spacing of the buildings. If those are kind of the concerns and the issues, what's stopping us of making it 7 units with more spacing or making the units a smaller footprint?
Chair Hickman,
Yes.
just to be clear, the project complies in all respects with your town zoning requirements as well as building code requirements. There's been some discussion this evening about building code. This is not the venue for building code issues. Those are ultimately determined by the building commissioner. Neither of these boards has any jurisdiction over building code issues. And you've already heard the building commissioner opine that what we're proposing complies with zoning. Obviously, there are business interests with any redevelopment of any property, and you need to make sure that it's financially viable. So you have the choice of the existing conditions, which I think everyone in this room agrees are less than ideal, and a proposed project. And this proposed project works.
Yo, I'm for it. I mean, I've been looking at that for some time now, so it's definitely going to be an improvement.
First, I believe you had your hand up.
Oh, I did. Anne Marie Rosanero, 3rd View, Iowa. I just had a quick question about the Ware River letter. I didn't hear what it said. If you could repeat that.
I didn't read the Ware River one.
Why?
Because these letters are long
Oh,
and
no,
they are,
I was
posted on our website, so you can read them at your leisure. But those are the entities in town that have weighed in. The only reason I read the building commissioners was that this is an issue that was raised this evening, and I wanted people to know that he was asked to submit a letter.
Okay, I
to
just knew
answer.
there was a concern with water within the town, so I'll take a look at your website.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yes.
And
Renee?
it does look like the Weir River letter, there were some questions posed that we'll need to follow up on.
That's
to
what I
get a
thought. Thank you.
Letter from them, correct?
Right, so we get letters from the various departments. They get sent to the applicant. They make adjustments to the plan based on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The questions will be answered and addressed. That's great. Okay, gentleman in the back, and I see everybody.
Hi, David Irwin, 3 Town Way. I wasn't here for your initial presentation. Along Nantasket Ave, that blue area, is that a sidewalk? That abuts the street?
The gray.
The gray.
Is it a gray area?
Gray.
You know, I'm a little.
Gray area.
You're talking about this area here?
Yes.
Yes, that is a proposed sidewalk.
Okay, now, I've been here 55 years. I know there's a few people in this room that have been here longer. There's a lot of accidents on that curve. Do you have any guardrail proposed for that project?
At this time, on the northern edge, we have some boulders proposed along the property line to prevent vehicles from entering into the site. The sidewalk itself would be raised above curbing, just like your typical sidewalks, which is generally used and is a standard method to prevent vehicles from mounting up over onto the sidewalk.
But I've been here to see that building that's there now hit, and I've seen rollovers on that curve. I'm just concerned about the safety for the people that are gonna be buying those homes. And if they hit, are they wooden stilts they're gonna be on? I mean, it will move the house.
So, Chair Bacon, as you mentioned, we have solicited comments from the various departments, including the Highway Department and the Police Department. None have expressed that concern, but that's certainly something that the planning board could pursue.
I mean, they could put in, they have nice, instead of the steel ones, you can put in 12 by 12 bollards with 4 by 12 beams, and it will look very nice, and it will protect your new homes there. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Frank Kerr, 33 Holbrook Avenue on Allerton Hill. Speaking of that corner there, I'm wondering, there's rumors that they're going to, depending on which way they're going to do the one-way because of the Nantasket seawall straightaway, there's rumors that they're going to do some reconfiguration there. I would imagine you guys, I don't know if you've heard of any plans, but you'll probably want to do something in conjunction with whatever changes they might make at that particular intersection, which is, you know, is dangerous. But what I wanted to talk to you about is the aesthetics. Tom, this maybe is Tom, right? This might be a question for you. First of all, the pavilion, in my opinion, looks awful. I don't know if that's the computer generated, I don't know what that is, but it looks terrible.
Looks kind of shack-like.
Yeah, it looks like a stilty shack. The other question is, it's the uniformity, it's the cookie cutter that we're also concerned about, other than the spacing. And by the way, I thought that was a good idea, just take one of those out on the right side, but I know it's a profit issue. Is there going to be anything to give these a look that's not uniform all the way across? I mean, is there going to be a color scheme that's different than what we're seeing there? And if you just answer that one, but also, question for Pete. It caught us by surprise when the boardwalk got switched back to the front. By and large, the people on Allerton Hill, I think, would prefer that boardwalk away from the view because it contributes to the motel look. Everything's kind of connected, and it's the uniformity. It's the thing we're trying to get away from. Something more unique that is reflective of the area of Allerton Hill. We want it to be more unique, like I said. So those are the two aesthetic questions I have. Actually, the three. The pavilion, is that going to look different than what that is? And the color schemes, anything that can be done to make these look more individual, these units look more individual, and why move the boardwalk? I suspect it's because you want the back decks to be, you know, private decks in the back facing the bay, but that was a problem. When we saw the deck come back over to the Nantasket Avenue side, that was a concern for people on the hill. So if you guys could tackle those.
Chair Pickering, I just want to say, we have also heard discussions about changes to that intersection. By eliminating our entrance in proximity to that, we're no longer essentially involved in that. Whatever the town is going to do, the town is going to do at that intersection. It's off of our site. We're always happy to have a conversation with the town if there's something that we can do to assist them in that process. But that was one of the motivations for eliminating that entrance
That was a
and
good idea.
that traffic.
Yeah.
And we've taken all of that into consideration with respect to our sightline calculations.
I got you. Right.
So I can't speak to the aesthetic issues, and I don't know if you gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, I can comment on the aesthetic a little bit. So one thing that we did do is we tried to break up the massing of the individual cottages by changing the shingles at the top half in vertical boarding, all in natural wood on the bottom half. We felt like that was a one way to break it up, the repetitiveness of them all. I think that that was the intent there. As far as building to building, I think the design is a little bit kind of, everyone has a different appreciation for different kind of design, right? If we did alternating cottages in different colors, some people are gonna say, I don't like that. So at a certain point, we kind of have to put forth what we think looks good as a group, and I think that this is kind of where we settled. I'm not sure that we're of course open to have discussions, but I feel like that as far as where we landed, the repetitiveness of it, that's kind of what we did. The decking question, I think Pete can handle that.
Yeah, so on the deck, we obviously eliminated the drive aisle and the parking beneath the building. So the way that we had the prior access, it was sort of between the different cottages, and one of the pieces of feedback that we heard was kind of cleaning up the number of staircases and trying to improve sight lines between the different units. So we thought that this was a decent solution to try and do that. And, you know, we've heard motel a couple different times here. You know, personally, I feel like it's a little bit of a nod to, you know, like a classic front porch that you might see in a typical New England house, and has a little bit of an interaction with the streetscape. You know, Frank, as you mentioned, to be fair, the deck's in the back. Obviously, that's something that we want to do, and you know, frankly, does help us with unit sales, particularly kind of making the concession with the parking being a little bit further away. But, you know, we've heard that comment from you and Marie and a couple others on the board, so it's something we can definitely look into.
I would add to that too, that one thing that if you put the deck back on this side, it's gonna feel like, a lot of people have spoken about how beautiful it is to be back here, right? This is the beauty of the property along the bay. People that walk and come and watch the sunset. There's a balance. Do you want to put the deck back here and encroach on that and feel like the deck is on top of you when you're there watching the sunset, or do you want to have that feel open and feel like you're on the bay? Sure. No, but here, yeah. But when you're walking down there and in the mornings, yes, of course, at sunset, but I think that the enjoyment of the property for the pedestrians and the abutters is in the rear. That you take that infrastructure away from the rear and you put it at the street.
On the street, looking at the aesthetics from the street side.
Sure.
I think the vast majority would have that.
Yeah, well, it was one of the considerations when the deck was moved.
Back row?
Yes, hi, Aiden Insoft, 29 Manomet. Two quick questions and then probably one slightly longer discussion. What is the material made out of for the sidewalk on the bay side, and what is the transition between sidewalk and then the natural beach? Are you proposing any type of like seawall or retaining wall, or is it going to be the sidewalk or natural stone shell that goes directly into the seaweed and the sand? And then second question, kind of similar, what is the material of, I know it's up for discussion who owns it, but what is the proposed material of Kadish Ave as well as the parking lot? Again, same question about like the transition between materials.
Yeah, so all the materials will be on the civil plan, so it's called out, but to kind of give a quick high level, we're proposing crushed shells kind of throughout where we can to maintain the natural feel. In a couple different areas on the plan you'll see, and we tried to depict it a little bit here, we did change some of the access to kind of a crushed stone dust material, trying to maintain the natural feel, but we heard access, I think someone brought that question up today. I think that's, you know, easier for people to walk on, and, you know, if you need wheelchair access, et cetera. And then on the wall, there's some structures there today. I think in the plans, we're looking to, you know, maintain and improve the condition of that. But, you know, I hope that answers it.
Bill?
Bill Smythe, 1037 Nantasket. You know, I'd like to commend these guys for doing a good job, for listening the last time you were here. And you came back with a plan which is substantially different. And I know after listening tonight you'll do the same thing, so I commend you for what you've done, especially for getting rid of that driveway and that end there. It's a nice job.
Pam Holbert, 836 Nantasket Ave, Boathouse Condominiums. When we met with Chris, we were asking him what kind of a visual for the pavilion, and he gave us the example of the gazebo that overlooks World's End, which is beautiful. You know, it's all lit up at night. It's really pretty. So I guess that was our image going into this. Is there any possibility of having it be something like that?
So we tried with the public pavilion to maintain kind of similar architectural character and materials to the cottages. You know, we want it to be functional and usable for the public. We do think it works best elevated, connected to the deck. But, you know, not to open up a can of worms, but if there are, you know, comments from the public both on how to program it and also maybe ways to improve the look within reason, it needs to fit within the context of the units and the site, but this is a public amenity, so we want you guys to feel proud about it, so it's something we can look into for sure.
I mean, there's always trade-offs, right? A gazebo style has a higher roof. It's going to block more views, so.
Ma'am?
Mary Roach, 166 Cage Ave. I have the same concerns. The public pavilion is aesthetically terrible, and you really need to think about that a little differently. Also, who is going to maintain that? Is this going to be part of the homeowners association for these 9 buildings? So if there has to be structural repairs or any maintenance, who's maintaining that building? And is that going to be put into an agreement?
Yes, we would document that as part of the conditions.
So the homeowners are?
Yeah, so it is on the private property, but we would maintain it. And I've kind of said this before, but the people that are going to be living here are going to be extremely concerned with making sure this is kept well and looks good and functions well. You know, and we can, I just mentioned the prior comment, we can look into the design of the pavilion if there's maybe some feedback on how to improve it.
And how, are people supposed to park in those 3 spaces? Is that the idea? If people from Point Alton wanted to use the pavilion, is that the idea of parking there and then walking up to it?
Yeah, so we heard at the last meeting there was concern about maybe having an over-parked plan. There is a public parking lot across the street, but we're providing, you know, those 4 spaces right there. We proposed the 3 spaces along Nantasket, and the number of spaces complies with zoning, but, you know, we eliminated a significant amount of the parking previously, as that was, you know, concern that we heard multiple times at the last meeting.
Marie?
Marie Wendling, 18 Mayflower Road. First of all, I appreciate that you guys are listening. I appreciate some attempt to accommodate a little bit of a viewpoint between the clusters of buildings. But even in this picture here, I mean, really 7 feet is 7 feet, 9 feet. There's no view in between, and you can see that. And when all 6 buildings are together, it's going to be the same. So the little bit of gap in there, I appreciate it. Of course, I'd like more. I also want to just go on the record. I'm concerned about the common boardwalk being on the front. I'm also concerned about, like, what that's going to look like with lighting, with safety. Tom mentioned, are you gonna put canopies over the stairs for snow protection? Like, how would that evolve, and could it even look worse? I also want to reiterate, I don't love the public access pavilion being raised. I understand that it's a requirement because of Chapter 91 that you have to give back some public stuff, but it's sort of like presenting this public thing to us that the public is gone, what are we going to do with that? Nobody really gets it. So we don't like the look of it, and we don't understand the utility of it. Are we just checking a box to say, oh, we gave this back to the public? A bigger point that got raised by the site plan review is the northernmost parcel being owner unknown. If that has not been legally cleared up, then we're talking about a lot of things, especially side setback of the northernmost building. Because if you look at the existing conditions plan where the sight line is for the owner unknown parcel, last I heard was once you guys get all your permits, you're gonna present an A&R to the planning department, which means approval not required site plan to consolidate the site and make it one site. Well, you can't get an A&R if you don't own it. So I'd like that legal thing to be cleared up, because otherwise you're talking about putting a building with no setback on a parcel that nobody knows who owns it on that northernmost section. The on-street parking, the drop-off thing is still really dangerous. I cannot imagine someone trying to parallel park or pull into that, especially the most northern one, or come out while someone's coming around the corner. And once you're in there, how are you gonna come out safely? I look forward to the public safety response on that. All three of those street spaces. I heard in the beginning, Mr. Kelly mentioned something about the boat ramp, and then I heard something about boat trailer parking, but I don't see boat trailer parking anywhere there, so I don't know if I just misheard that, but maybe that's something you can follow up on. I want to reiterate, there is no storage in these units. There's no attic. There's obviously no basement. The first floor bedroom, I think, we heard last time, could possibly be configured as a storage area, but what does that really mean for what's going to happen underneath the buildings? Are people going to get big Tupperware box bins thing and anchor them down and put their stuff in it? Because where do you put your beach toys? Where do you put your beach chairs? Where do you just put your Christmas tree? Like all those things. So we have to think about that aesthetically. I guess that's it. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Did you have a response?
Yes, Chair Bacon. I just want to clear something up. The note on the plan that says owner unknown is really not relevant to anything before the planning board. The seller of the property represents that he owns all of these parcels. In fact, they're all enumerated on the deed from the seller. We have a purchase and sale agreement with the seller, which requires the seller to convey clear and marketable title to all of the parcels. If for some reason the seller is unable to do that, then either our clients will likely not buy the property and move forward with the development, or they'd have to come back and redesign, to your point, if they don't have ownership of that northern parcel. This is no different than any other commercial development that's being permitted under a purchase and sale agreement with a permitting contingency. It's the same thing with all of these deals. You put a property under agreement in reliance upon what the owner tells you that he or she or it owns. You go forward with your permitting in reliance upon that. And in this case, the seller has authorized us to go forward with permitting. If there's some issue with any aspect of the title, that has to be resolved by the transactional attorneys, usually is. And so it's unrelated to the permitting process. So that note comes off of an Alta survey plan that was prepared by a surveyor early on in the process, for specifically for title purposes, not for design purposes for this project. So it's something that someone or some people have seized upon to create an issue that's not relevant to this permitting matter.
You, Adam?
due diligence to satisfy all these boards, fire, police, sewer, water, electric. Do you have any idea of what these units will cost?
No, sir, that's not really an issue for the planning board.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Aiden Insoff, 29 Manamet. Just one follow-up question on ADA compliance. Do you have any plans, or would there be any way to add a ramp to the boardwalk? I can imagine people would have things on wheels and could make accessibility slightly easier than a 15 staircase 4 times.
So we do have a proposed ADA lift to access the boardwalk. At one design iteration, we did look at a ramp, but given the number of switchbacks that would be required, just with the access and how long each run can be, it did not look good. The cheaper option for us would be to do a ramp, but it doesn't look good. So we went with the lift. I think it'll be more practical.
I live just off of this map, down by those blue arrows, just on the bottom of the map. So I'm looking right at this. One of my biggest concerns is, and it's partially because of the kind of taking Bay Ave as your own with the crushed seashells and all that stuff. I feel like that whole area is getting squished to the northern end by a whole nother building than what is there now. And the access to our little swimming hole beach over there and the public utility building there, it's going to seem foreboding. And after a while, after like a couple of years, it's all going to just be you guys and whoever owns these things. Who's going to stop them from like just fencing it all in with like a privacy fence? And all of a sudden we don't have access to the little pavilion. And by the way, is the top floor of that pavilion for public use?
Yes, sir.
It is, so both stories would be public use, okay. But I'm not even sure what the access is to the beach on the north end there. Like right now, we just kind of walk over there and go swimming. But I think there's maybe some walls that are going to be put up, and can you answer to that?
No, I'm going to turn it over to Pete, but I just want to make clear, presently, I do not believe there's legal public access over this private property. I understand the neighborhood has made use of the property for years. What we're proposing here is actually to formalize public access over large portions of the property. Those are going to be memorialized on the plans being reviewed and we hope approved by the planning board. Also be reflected in our Chapter 91 license, which mandates all of these public accommodations. And in fact, by virtue of the grant of a Chapter 91 license, it memorializes these public easements over these designated public walkways and areas. And so there are signage requirements in connection with Chapter 91. We're happy to talk about additional signage with the planning board to make these things clear. It's all required as a matter of law, public record, reflected in site plan approval, and ultimately in our Chapter 91 license, which is not only, that's enforced by the state, not enforced by the town. So to the extent you have any concerns about public access being restricted in the future, that would be a violation of law. That would be enforced at the local level under the site plan approval, but more importantly, would be enforced by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection if there was a violation. So it's the best we can do to assure in perpetuity that these areas will remain public.
Okay, I'd like a little clarification. So, us as public, are we allowed to walk on the beach behind that structure?
Presently, sir?
I'm sorry?
Are you saying presently?
Well, I know presently, I do it all the time, but.
Well, all I can tell you, sir, is that it's private property. Between mean low and mean high, there are certain limited public rights under the public trust doctrine. I can talk about this forever if you want. So you're actually allowed to cross only between those areas for fishing, fouling, and navigation. Those are your present legal rights. What we're proposing is to give you full access across the property legally so that there won't be any question of trespass, and to facilitate that access by providing all of these defined walkways, accessibility, and these accommodations.
Thank you for that long description. But if I put it as a yes or no question, are we gonna be able to walk on that beach after this project is being built?
Yes.
Okay.
So to answer your question on the North Beach, we do have some boulders there that I think are there today, but to help kind of close, the curbing off a little bit and provide an edge. But, there's a walkway there that you would be able to access. There will not be any wall.
No fencing or anything?
There's no fencing.
Walk right over to that beach and go for a swim?
Yeah, yes. And
Okay.
I know there's been some, I do just want to say this as a, general comment. This is a really challenging site from a layout standpoint. So one of the pieces of feedback that we heard was trying to improve the spacing in between the clusters of units. So we made the decision to essentially double that space. That does cut in a little bit more to the north side, and you could say, hey, can you bump it back? But then we're going to be robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? So I think that's we have a plan here that we've worked really hard on, and we've tried to be responsive to feedback. We've spent a lot of time and money, and we want to make this right for the community. There's a lot of changes that we could make around the margins to push one way, but ultimately it's going to end up pulling somewhere else. And we've kind of made the decision here to say, hey, this is what we're proposing, and, hoping to get a reaction from that.
I have a gut. I live there, I'm there all the time, I know that property. I have a gut that all these little accesses and everything are gonna disappear once you guys disappear.
So it will be managed through HOA, and, as Adam mentioned, I'm not an attorney, but that would be against the law. We'd be violating a state license, so.
Thank you, and I hope that maybe our town attorney can maybe put something in writing that would be permanent, that we have these accesses.
We would be happy to do that. We want to make this, we're not trying to hide anything here. So if we can document that in conditions, we would love to.
Just so you know, typically something like that would be in our order of conditions. It would be memorialized in the order of conditions. As they say, it's part of Chapter 91. So, I mean, it's coming from two different directions, actually. Ma'am?
Hi, Mary Roach, Katie Shop. I just have two questions on the pier. So there are two piers. There's a shorter one. This is for Peter, Adam. There's a shorter pier and there's a longer pier. So I just wanted to understand what the intentions of, I think the shorter pier is on Upperways on B Street or something. And the longer pier, you're gonna go at another 300 feet, I believe, beyond this. And I'm guessing that's gonna be in mud. What's your vision of how this is going, how both piers are going to be used? By the residents and by the general public?
Again, we had mentioned this at the prior here, Chair Pickman. We're not permitting any of the piers as part of this project. That will be a separate process. If I recall correctly, the pier further to the south, the smaller pier, is in disrepair and will likely be removed. To the extent that we're going to, to reconstruct or extend the additional pier, it's only for recreational marina with a handful of boats, but that's not part of this project, and will be permitted separately.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to also say, not to jump in on Adam, but that will remain public as well. There's no intention to make that private for just the residents. We will, that will be a public pier.
I will say that I'm always pulling out wood from the southern pier that's ending up, I have a boat there that floats over to all the boats that are moored there. So The quicker that comes down, the better for all of us, by the way.
Okay. That's everything? Yes.
Question, I feel like there's been a lot of comments on the uniformity, continuous structure, the appearance from the street. One thing that really stuck out at me was when I looked at the revised architectural drawings that came over, the boardwalk now on the street side appeared to stand out. There's vertical balusters in the plans. And, you know, that was a comment, a conversation came up, Mr. Kerr brought that up, on the continuous structure, the uniformity. When I look at the rendering, they appear to disappear, right? There's maybe cabling, materials used. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the intent of the look of that boardwalk from the street, and the materials that we plan to use.
Yeah, I think that, I guess between the architectural drawings and this 3D rendering, there is a discrepancy, right? The architectural drawings show a vertical metal baluster, and this shows the horizontal cable rail. And again, for us, that is a detail that we're happy to hear feedback on. I think the design intent is to have it be as minimal as possible and disappear as much as possible. I think that works best for everyone, the residents, the general public that view it from the Ave. So we're happy to take feedback, but the intent is to make it the least amount of visibility that we possibly can.
Don?
Given the building commissioner's determination that an awning or roof structure over the boardwalk has to be provided in order for this to be called a single building for zoning purposes, we need to see it on the rendering and on the drawings, along with some details.
Yeah, so we have talked extensively about that, and we have engaged with the architecturals and the engineers. I think that part of the discussion is the retractable awnings will satisfy that, and whether or not those are going to be permanent winter seasonal versus not, I think is something that's still to be determined. But the intent is to have an awning continuously, and it can be retractable, is from what I understand.
And it will have to go between the gap between the units and also across that space in the middle.
Yeah.
Be continuous.
Yeah.
Well, no, but
To be continuous, again, like you're getting into interpretations that Bart has, and I'm.
Well, or it has to be at least between the buildings.
So, Mr. Ritz, all I can Chair Paquin, we've sent the revised plans to the building commissioner and engaged him on whether or not we need to make any additional changes to ensure that what we're providing satisfies him. So that's still in progress.
Thank you. Lisa?
Yeah, on none of the drawings, anywhere have you seen any sort of canopy over the walkway. It hasn't been indicated anywhere. But also by the definition, well, for one thing, somebody brought up in the design review board meeting the other night that there's a bylaw that a canopy can only project from the entrance of the building 6 feet. So it sounds like it's not even allowed to put a canopy over a continuous walkway like this. Also, by the definition of a building is a habitable area, and a walkway is not a habitation. It is not a structure for habitation. It is a passageway. So the definition doesn't work. I just think it's important for that to be stated. The other thing too about that easement for the future, my understanding is when it's in the conditions for the planning board will be able to enforce the conditions until the building is complete, and then they're not. So, and it does matter that there is a legal public access easement for these public access areas, because if you say, for instance, the Paragon building, none of those open courtyards have a public access easement. And in the future, the management could close those off to the public, even though they're formalized and it says that these are, open, this is open space and this is a courtyard, but there's no public access easement. There's only one that they're applying for that I guess the planning board is going to talk about tonight, that is a walkway from the DCR lot over to the Art Walk. The Art Walk, the thing about enforcement under Chapter 91, the state does not enforce that. The local community is supposed to enforce those things. Horizons owns the Art Walk, and until they made an arrangement with the owner of Paragon, they did not maintain the Art Walk for many years. They let it run down. The Homeowners Association at Horizons, they didn't maintain it, and nobody enforced it. So that's why it was run down. It's difficult for the community to be sure that the open areas that are accessible will be kept accessible if there isn't some sort of a legal public access easement.
Gene, can I just respond to
Yes,
that?
please.
You know, it's still, even when something is approved by special permit, the plan is still in existence. So over time, if that's something supposed to be public open space and it gets closed off, that's still a violation of that special permit. There's still things the town can do to enforce that. It's just, the plan's not just said and all done as soon as occupancy permits are issued. So there's still plans that say certain things need to be open space. Obviously, an easement is something that's, you know, perpetual on that site. Whereas a plan, you know, if there's a new building, that's no longer public open space, like with the Paragon projects. So something like the Art Walk connection, that's something that will be a permanent fixture there, regardless if that building stays there or not. But yeah, so basically, if a plan says that it's going to be open space, it will remain open space, or there'll be a violation that the town can, you know, do what they need to do.
Chair Pickering, if I can just reaffirm, the building commissioner and zoning enforcement officer makes determinations of zoning and building compliance. He's also the enforcement officer for the town. So if there's a violation of a town permit that relates to his jurisdictional area, he always retains authority for enforcement. The Paragon project is different from this project in that the vast majority of the Paragon project is outside of Chapter 91 jurisdiction. Almost the entirety of this property is within Chapter 91 jurisdiction, and so will be subject to a Chapter 91 license. The town does not enforce the Chapter 91 program. That's enforced at the state level, and I can assure you that the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection enforces permit conditions under Chapter 91 licenses.
Lisa?
The Art Walk, not as an art walk, but that pathway was created under Chapter 91 when Horizons was built.
Yes, and the Art Walk is not on the Paragon site, it's on the Horizon site.
I know.
We're talking apples and oranges here,
No,
Ms. French.
no, my point is that it wasn't enforced.
If I may, that was a very complicated thing because there was part of it owned by somebody else and maybe something else, and it wasn't as clear cut as one had hoped when it was initially installed. And for a number of years, we tried to get that open, and we finally did. But it's a different situation from Chapter 91, and it was a difficult situation to get that reopened. So, but we're not here to discuss that anyways. I think we're all hearing the concerns of the public relative to, we are concerned that these amenities are going to be continued. And we will make it our business to be sure that we memorialize it. Chapter 91, it will be done, and that's what we can do. And we are not an enforcement board, but I will tell you that any time anybody on this board sees something that we have approved that might not quite be correct, we do bring it to the attention of the building commissioner. So, are there any other questions from the public?
Real quick,
we're happy to discuss that with the town. Again, it is our position that that portion of Bay Avenue is a private way, was never accepted as a public way by the town. We've consulted with our title and survey experts with respect to that issue. With that said, sir, just so you understand, it's an undeveloped, essentially paper street. We're actually going to open it up for public use and provide a public access easement over that to facilitate public access through the property. So we're actually functionally creating public access that hasn't existed since it was laid out in, I believe, 1880, I'm not sure the exact date, 1886, I believe, is when it was originally laid out. So whether the town wants some signage there, we're happy to discuss it with the appropriate town department.
I went to the town meetings where we were voting on the land swap twice of that road, and it got shot down. So that was a public road.
Yes, sir. I can't speak to what happened at town meeting. All I can tell you is that there are many instances within the town of Hull where there are assumptions made regarding certain property rights. Sometimes they're not always what people think.
Good talker. Sorry.
Yeah, Trish Waddleton, 27 Holbrook. So, I can assure you, in the 70s, I drove in that road, not the 1800s. It was the 70s and the 80s, till Kelly bought it. Once he bought it, he slowly pulled the cradles till it disappeared. Period, end of sentence. That was a road.
Just
Somebody else has their hand up.
Henry, that's 33 Whale. I just, are you concerned, I know you didn't read the letter from Whale River, but there is concerns around the water for the whole town, so are you guys concerned about any of the
We'll have to comply with whatever Ware River requires of us for this project.
Right, as a town, we don't have any water,
And what happens is, the letter gets sent to us, it is given to the proponent, and they have to answer, they read the comments and respond. So that will be happening, okay?
we don't have, we get brown water.
Yes.
Just a real quick follow-up, gentlemen, on the pavilion. As is, that's not cutting it. I'm just wondering, first of all, is there a reason that you cannot enclose that pavilion top and make it more attractive and make it more aesthetically in line with what you're creating on the rest of the property? And unless there's a reason why you did it that way for sight lines, I don't know. But
Quiet, please.
But I just wanted to mention that, if there's something you can do aesthetically to bring it in line with what you've got on the site now, that it's gonna play better for the people who are gonna be driving by or going to it. Can it be enclosed? I don't know.
Yes, of course, we're open to feedback. I think part of the challenge for us in this process is balancing all the feedback, right? We have one person raise their hand and say, put a guardrail in. We have the next person raise their hand and say, is there gonna be a fence, right? So we have, that's an example, but here, we wanna keep sightlines open. We eliminated the parking structures because there was concerns about sightlines, and now we're asking, can we put a wall back up, right? So we're trying to enclose the pavilion, is how it was asked. So we try to balance all the feedback, and again, it's challenging. Sure.
Scene right there. I don't know if that's what it's gonna look like, but if you're gonna have this set up, if it looks more like what you've got on the site, so that it kind of ties it better together, rather than, it looks like a bunch of stilts right now. I can't tell by looking at that, but just if you would keep that in mind as you go to your next iteration of this plan. Thanks.
Thank you. If no one has any further questions, I'd like to go back to the board to see if they have any questions.
Jane, can you just tell us the next steps in the process and what the public can expect?
Next steps in the process would be that the proponent will be responding to what has been brought forward this evening, whether it's department, it's really, they'll be responding to John's memo, to department concerns. Let's see.
Sounded like they had
Chair
some.
Pakin, could we
Yes.
talk about the process, please?
Yes.
Unless I'm mistaken, we thought it might be more valuable for Mr. Chesia to review the revised plans
That are
and
coming.
supplement his memo, and then we could, in hopefully a universal fashion,
That's
respond
fine.
to all of his comments and any other comments from the departments and members of the public. So in terms of timing, I have no idea when Mr. Chesia is available, and how quickly he might be able to turn that around so we could sort of gauge the calendar.
Yes. John, do you have the new plans?
I have the plan, so basically the plans would address some of the comments I had on the parking and the access. The drainage didn't really change, so I guess I would only pick the pieces that changed, so there's some
Okay.
parking and access, and then there's also some other utility impacts, not necessarily changes, but I didn't look at it in detail. I've seen the presentation tonight, and obviously there's a fairly significant change to the parking and the access. That's sort of the main bit of it. So is that the intent, for me to just look at those aspects?
Chair Pagan, we didn't think it was going to be a heavy lift because we kept most of the project the same. But we thought that if we could get your comments on those aspects which changed, then we could provide a comprehensive response rather than providing you a response and then you get another round of comments and then we respond again. And so if it's possible to turn that around fairly quickly, we're prepared. We've actually begun work on obviously responding to your other comments. But we're trying to keep the process moving. We have discussed the timing and the deadline for a decision, and we're just trying to game out what the calendar could be to try and wrap this up as quickly as possible, and then we can address the request for the extension.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to simplify, because the way I do my letters, as you're familiar, is I put under my comment, I'll say what's been addressed. So I would do this in a way, so I'd take this and update only those sections.
Yes.
And again, most of it would be the parking section, some of it's site plan section, but the drainage section I wouldn't even look at. It wouldn't make sense to, because you didn't really change anything of any significance there. So I would say, I'm trying to get an answer here to make it simple from my end, to get you what you want without, right, so does that make sense, to look at those specific things?
You would simply supplement your current peer review to address just the things that we changed. Then we'd have all of your comments in one place, and then we could provide a global response to all of your comments.
Okay. All right. Meg?
Can I just clarify, is it, are there updated plans that are still coming, like, that you'll be submitting?
So we believe in response to Mr. Chesia's stormwater comments, I think there are going to be some changes to the stormwater management design. We're going to be relocating things and whatnot. In terms of architectural plans or site layout plans, we're not anticipating any changes. We may be able to provide some more clarification and additional information in response to comments, but we're not anticipating major site plan or architectural changes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Okay. So we have John's, then you have departments that have sent questions and concerns.
Yes, Chair Pickering, staff has been kindly forwarding those comment letters in. I don't know if anything recently has arrived. I didn't look at the website.
think
I'm having difficulty navigating the new website.
We'll
with
get
everyone
there,
else.
we'll get
So-
there.
So it's been hasn't been a productive couple of days.
I think
but
you have
the
everything that
intention-
we have.
The intention would be, again, to provide a universal response. So if Mr. Chester can give us some sense of when he thinks he can provide us with his supplemental, then we can figure out how long it's gonna take us to get back.
So probably a couple weeks.
Okay. All right, and we also want to make sure that the chief of police and fire get the new plans. They were given the old plans, get the new plans, and,
Yeah, we assume we provided at least a dozen
Yeah.
copies of the plans, which are presumably distributed by staff to the various departments, and electronic copies. So we hope they have already have them.
right.
Yeah,
So-
we've sent that around to the departments,
Yeah.
so.
So if Mr. Chesney needs 2 weeks, that would be, obviously, the week of the 20th, the 22nd would be 2 weeks from tonight.
Mm-hmm. So he needs 2 weeks to get it to you,
Correct.
then you need time to process it.
I'm led to believe that we should be able, again, we've already started working on the response. So I think we need at least a week.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got to give that back to Mr. Chesia, because he has to then confirm that we've addressed all of his concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're getting jammed up in time, because I believe our deadline is May
It's May.
6th.
Right, and that's, I mean, we had asked for an extension, particularly now since there are new plans, and we have town meeting.
And when is town meeting, please?
Town meeting is on the 4th, is it?
It's that week, yeah.
I don't believe you're allowed to host any
We
other
can't,
public meetings.
yeah, town meeting starts on Monday, the 4th.
And typically lasts several
I was gonna say,
consecutive days.
Say a prayer for us.
I
that
don't,
it's
I don't
only
know what's
2
on your warrant
nights.
this year, so I don't know how long it's going to take.
It might be, it could be 3 nights. So that kind of kills that week. So we are actually, I mean, it sounds with all of the back and forth that we're at the 11th.
I am traveling for business, but please proceed if you can get the rest of
Okay.
the board.
All right. I mean, that's what it's looking like, unfortunately.
And I feel like, I think also on the 6th, we have to have the decision in. So,
Well, yeah, we need an
That's
extension.
why we're asking for an
We need an
extension.
extension. That's why we initially asked for one, and now with the new plans, we really need one. Yes? It is a statutory deadline.
Oh, okay.
We are only allowed no, no, that, no.
for us.
I didn't know if it was a purchase and sale agreement deadline or what.
I don't know what their deadlines are. We just know that when it comes,
Presented, you have so much time
yes.
to deal with it. Got it,
Yes.
okay.
The clock starts ticking.
Yes, would it be possible for us to please get a sense of the planning board, whether we're heading in the right direction? And that this is a project that, that would be appropriate for site plan approval with conditions, or whether that, there's some major issue which we have not anticipated?
Board members?
And I recognize we only have 4 members of the board.
No, you're not on the board. You can ask a question, but, and it's a question.
Okay, it's related to that. My name is Cynthia Covert. I'm on the Affordable Housing Committee. I live at 836 Mantascan Avenue. My question relates to what Adam just said, in terms of the planning board. Is this the appetite of what we want? I do not like the look at this at all. The public benefits were what attracted us to this, you know,
The
single
question is?
family. The question is, did the developers look at building on the existing footprint and building more units, including affordable units?
We did look at kind of rebuilding the existing program, and, you know, as a ownership team, that's not a project that we would pursue. There's other developers that specialize in that, and a lot of times that might involve tax credits. You're probably familiar with it. You know, there's typically a distinction from a development standpoint about what type of projects people specialize in. So, you know, we did look at it from a pro forma standpoint, but that's not a project that, you know, we have experience doing.
Thank you. Anybody have a feel? Wow, you two. I know.
Whoa. I'd say a lot of what we heard from the public is positive, right? And that, like, I don't feel it's appropriate until we have a final, like, look at the project to say, hey, we're going in this direction. Have we seen improvements since the first version? Of course. Do we know what this literally looks like yet? Like, I can't say that I do. Like, I haven't seen an awning. I haven't seen. It's not clear to me whether or not these renderings match up with what the plan is. So there's a lot of that I need to digest tonight with all of this that's in front of me. I guess that's what I could say. But as to a sense of whether or not, you know, hey, I'm ready to go forward and say yes with this, I just don't think it's appropriate yet.
Chantal?
What's that?
What is it? One, I want to acknowledge the tremendous amount of work that you guys have done since our last meeting. Having been through these in other places, it's not often that people come back with the feedback and trying to accommodate those requests, so thank you for that. I'm inclined to say that I do not believe there will be a major issue. It will be more some of the things that we've talked about, and think that, you know, I foresee it going forward with additional things that we've discussed.
Yeah, I think I echo my other board members. I think there are a lot of positives here, but it's going to be in the specifics around how we, you know, we've certainly heard concern about the pavilion. So I think there may be some understanding that, yes, everyone's design tastes are a little different, but, you know, I'd love to maybe see a couple of different options on that. I think overall, you know, this is trending in the right direction, but, you know, I agree with Nate. I'm not ready to say I'm all in, but I think we're making a lot of good progress, and I appreciate the feedback that we've seen so far, and the certainly the open space and the public access is very important, and you know, the Chapter 91 obviously is very important to make sure that we're complying with that and that's memorialized.
Yeah, I mean, I would only echo what they said. So, you know, it's good to see responsiveness from a developer. And, I mean, there are a lot more boxes that we have to tick, but,
Could you speak up?
I said that I'm happy to see responsiveness from a developer. There are more boxes that need to be ticked, but at this moment in time, I'm not seeing something that I'm saying absolutely not. It doesn't matter what it's gonna be, I'm not gonna be happy with it. So.
I think that was the sentiment of the board, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing something that's just a total, no. And I think that having that public access piece of this puzzle, which is mandated, but nonetheless, I think the respect for that bathing area is a nice part of it. That's something that the neighborhood has been used to. So.
Thank you, yeah. And again, Chapter 91 would not require that we provide that access, and we're willing to do that. So we're going far beyond, you know, what we're required to provide for Chapter 90. So are you thinking, Chair Pakeman, of meeting the week of the 11th, although Ms. Riley's not available that week?
I'm traveling for business, so unfortunately it's unavoidable, although if they can get a quorum,
Yeah, if we could, just let me look at the calendar, Adam, I'm sorry. So the week of the 11th, which would mean May 13th?
I think that's a regularly scheduled meeting.
It is a regular scheduled meeting. That is our normal meeting.
Yeah, that's not mine.
Pete's expecting a baby. We're trying to figure out schedules.
Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations, yes, and that's, and that's like,
Understood.
Is that your first one?
That's what's good. They're stuck together though. We have to fight them open.
So we potentially could meet the
Wait,
week
that's
of
my
the
birthday.
18th, that Wednesday would be the regularly scheduled
They're
meeting.
unsweetened.
when, I'm sorry, Adam, when is that?
So again, the week of the 11th, Ms. Riley's not available. The following week is the week of May 18th, and that Wednesday is the 20th. I don't know whether you have a regularly scheduled meeting.
That is not our regular, meeting night, but, I could quickly, I mean, to be honest, just so you understand what this board is about, Adam knows, you guys don't. We were actually looking to see if we were all available next week to meet, to keep this moving, but it doesn't make any sense because you're not gonna have the information to, So, that's how this board typically will try to be responsive and keep a project going. I can't imagine, does anybody, the four of us sitting here right now, are not available on the 20th of May?
I can be there.
It's an off week for us.
I should be available.
I can be there on, it's Wednesday the 20th?
Wednesday, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
a
can be there
Wednesday.
Wednesday the 20th, but after that I'm out of town for the week.
You're down for what?
I will be out of town for the week after that.
After
All
the
right.
20th?
After
Yes.
the 20th, so are you away the next Wednesday? Or just
It's
that?
a really good question. Not quite sure how much is happening on the farm yet.
I think we need 2 meetings plus a couple days to be able to have that meeting, vote on a decision.
It's not that far. I
get
can
it
come
into-
back. It'll be fine.
Okay, yes. Yeah, so, this is the whole.
All right, I'm buying this brand again.
I'm sorry, Chair Baker, I was distracted. Mr. Diorio was suggesting 2 meetings,
I think we'll, yeah.
reconvene, review the final, hopefully, as close to the final, and then meet again to
Draft a decision,
have the decision.
vote on the decision, and then whatever changes, and then I need to get it into the clerk within the next day or 2, so.
I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. It's getting late, forgive me.
Oh,
Is the expectation that we'd have a draft decision available on May 20th?
No, I think it would be, if May 20th was the next meeting, I would imagine we'd have a draft decision at the following meeting.
Why are we,
27th, so that would mean 3 meetings in May.
well, that would, but Nate's not available the week of the 27th.
You're not available the week in the 27th?
Can move it.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
All right, so,
I'm sorry,
speak grumpy, that's
we are on our end running into time issues.
okay.
No, I still have one more year after that.
I feel like an attorney. What is an attorney with their clients?
It's like, sure, yeah, 20. My God, yeah, so it is.
Oh,
I don't think so. Right in the middle.
You never know.
you do. 'Cause you just looked at
Hmm?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
I was trying to think if we could do it, but I can't, because we're gonna have the thing traveling forward.
Only do so much. Unless. Unless.
Independent attorney. Well, you can always appeal it to the zoning board, right? These are longer than life.
Fair enough. Nate is being Nate.
Should we take a 5-minute break, please, and step outside the room?
Go.
Do you guys need a whiteboard or anything?
I know, listen, we're struggling here as well, you know, but.
My brother's expecting a baby in May as well, so I hear you. It's a great month to have a baby.
Yes. All right, a recess.
We're gonna have, we're gonna
end our meeting. All right.
Okay. Friend of mine does something.
God,
Throws this year.
you're not having fun?
I move to
Yes.
approve the minutes of January 28th.
Insulated.
Oh, look at you. There's been a motion to approve the minutes.
I didn't know this was gonna be surprised.
Where are they?
Only unsweetened cranberry.
I don't have them.
Where'd you get it?
Actually, I think he's paused us. Oh, okay, great. We're still on, guys.
Okay.
So we're approving the minutes of January 28th. Are there any?
Okay, sorry, Matt is chiming in.
Yes, Matt?
So I guess there was the caveat that there was this question about so I originally had it striked out because that's what I thought the board wanted. And then we went back to the last meeting and that wasn't the intention.
Excuse me, 1 second, Matt. Guys, if you could talk outside, we're still on TV, we're still meeting. Thanks.
Yeah, and then a board member said that they wanted to edit them themselves, and I reached out to this member a couple times and got no response.
Oh, yes. I remember now.
Okay.
And I went back and reviewed it, and my opinion is that what's there is pretty accurate to what was said on the recording. So that's my 2 cents right there.
Do we want to wait on those until that board member is able to?
I mean, if
Is
he's
that board
reached,
member returning?
Excuse me?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
but also, it's the responsibility of the board member to answer.
Yes. No, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we could go either way. It's been.
I mean, they are
several
January
months.
minutes, and they should be approved.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do,
I think
we
that
do have
Matt-
an obligation to,
Matt, I trust that you have reviewed it. I feel
Yes.
comfortable with that, and if that's the case, a motion was made to approve the minutes of January 28th,
I second that motion.
2026. Motion by Peyton, second by Schulte. All those in favor?
aye.
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 Aye, unanimous. The next are the minutes of February 11th, 2026.
Is there any?
Yeah.
Okay.
Schedule of possible. I move to approve the minutes of February 11th.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. All right. The minutes of February 11th have, there's been a motion made, there's been a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes of February 11th.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. And the last ones are the minutes of February 25th, 2026.
And then you also got, March 11th.
What's that?
And then we also have March 11th.
Oh, okay.
I move to approve the meeting minutes of February 25th, 2026.
Second.
Motion by Riley.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes of February 25th?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
Yep, aye.
Okay,
Can I just ask that we space out the paragraphs, though? This is like hard to read.
okay,
Like when we actually send them up front before you sign them,
sure,
these
Yeah,
are
no.
paragraphs.
I gotcha. Yeah, spacing would be helpful, it's just helpful for reading. All right, now we,
Good for saving paper, though.
okay.
Good job.
So we have the minutes of March 11th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
Sorry, I'm reading.
Move to approve the minutes of March 11th.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes from March 11th, 2026?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Okay, thank you, guys. We got that done.
Dates.
Yes.
Yes. Would the planning board be willing to meet with us later this month, perhaps on April 22nd? I don't know when your regular meetings are, so we could come back with revised pavilion plans and some of the other things that we've talked about. That would give Mr. Chesia the time that he needs to do his work, and then we'd come back for hopefully a final on May 20th, and I'd like to see if, in anticipation of an approval, that staff could begin working on a decision with conditions that could also be reviewed on the 20th, because we think that we'll be able to satisfy Mr. Chesia's technical requirements with respect to stormwater, and then that would let us end this in May.
One moment. So,
If we,
you're,
that I could do a Zoom if that. Can you tell me the dates again that you just said?
I was just suggesting the 22nd. The 15th, if we came back next week, we can't turn around the plan changes quickly
oh, you're
enough.
available.
I'm available on May 20th. I'm
2 weeks
just not
tonight.
available.
And then the follow-up date that you would,
I am not available.
Jesse said he
Again,
needed 2
I could
weeks.
call
I'm not here that week either.
Which week?
the 22nd, or the week of April 20th. Both myself and Chris are also away.
Do the 29th.
I'm away.
Jean's away
So, and as you well know, Adam, that members are only allowed one
Yes.
absence.
I mean, if you do the week of the April 22nd,
Mhm.
that would be my one absence,
Right.
and I can make the 20th.
And what would
If
we?
I don't get hit by a bus or anything. but I
Jeez
shouldn't say that, I'm
Louise.
sorry. No.
do we have a
We would
contingent
hope
date for
that
that?
that would not be
hope
the
that that will not
case.
happen.
Wow. That got
I
dark
should not say
fast.
that.
dark. That got dark fast. All right, so on the 22nd, just run this by me again. So the 22nd, you're hoping
So what we like to meet with you again this month to present to you, again, we have to go back and look at the pavilion. We have to, clarify some of these architectural features. Come back to you with those issues to get, the board's sense, or if there are any other issues that we need to address. I was proposing the 22nd, which is 2 weeks. That would give us a week to work on the plans, submit it on the 15th, so then you have a week to review it. So we didn't want to, that's why we can't do the 15th. And there's no way we can get you something in less than a week.
Okay.
And we would understand that Ms. Rowley would not be here on the 22nd,
Right.
and then reconvene on the 20th. We will have hopefully gotten a sign-off from Mr. Chesia, a sign-off from all of the departments, so everything's nice and neat, and we could perhaps, after town meeting, I could work with staff on a draft decision with conditions so that you could actually vote the project on the 20th, and then we would provide the extension to accommodate that. Those
Okay.
dates work for you?
That works on my calendar.
That works on your calendar, okay. Nathan?
I think it could work.
Okay, I had reached out to Abby.
We just all look.
Yeah, the only thing is we had talked about with the full board last time doing the 15th because I was away on the 22nd. So we might just want to confirm that the other board members could be available and that they didn't assume we weren't going to have a meeting. Because otherwise you won't have a quorum.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry. No,
Jeannie, you out the whole week of the 27th?
Excuse me?
Are you out the whole week of the 27th? Or just on the 29th?
No, I leave on the 29th.
You leave on the 29th?
Yep.
You don't have to meet on a Wednesday.
Yeah, what if we met on
meet on the
Tuesday of
20th.
that week?
If,
Or when's the ballot? When do we vote on position?
Traditionally after town meeting, we read.
you mean on replacements? That will be after town meeting.
But
Oh, no, after the
After the
election.
election,
Excuse me.
which is the
the
23rd.
23rd of
Right?
May?
The election is the,
I don't know, I always get
Well,
sworn in
I'm
on
only
my
saying that
birthday.
'cause
I
if-
get sworn in on my birthday every
If we commit to this, but then there's a new board,
You can't stop the process just because the board
yeah,
change.
I mean, the election is on the 18th.
okay.
Okay.
Or Monday, even.
27, 28. Would work.
All right, so I gotta reach out to these board members to see, because now we have, here's what we're up against. This is the realities. Abby is, just unfortunately, she got called away today unexpectedly. Cindy has resigned and will no longer be on the planning board after the election.
Okay.
So we're gonna be down to 6 people who could potentially vote. And I don't know whether another board member maybe, I don't know what's happening.
Potential that another board member will, their seat will be up.
And I'm up for re-election on the 18th. So,
Town election is May 18th.
yep.
Oy.
Are you available on, so what do we look, I can't look at this.
Well, then, can we meet on the, well, we talked about the 11th. I've already forgotten what was wrong with the week of the 11th.
I'm traveling for business.
That's right.
Although I can meet on Thursday of that week if that
14th?
I thought you guys needed more time.
Sorry, I thought it
We're
was on
talking about May.
Oh, May.
Why don't we,
Okay.
yeah, maybe we should settle April's meeting
All
and
right,
then
so-
move on to
We'll
So,
be
all
back
right.
here tomorrow, how
All right,
fast?
let's talk about April first. All right, I'm sorry, any other, we can look at the other dates in April, other than,
April,
it's just we might need to poll we need to poll these other board members.
no,
okay, Cindy is available on the 20th.
candidly, since we have all four here, I want to lock in all four to the extent we can. I can't control everything else.
That's true. Okay, so in April, we're looking at, you're not available the 22nd, I'm not available the 29th, but could people be available on the 28th?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that a Tuesday?
It is.
That is a Tuesday. Let me just make sure. Nathan? Tuesday, the 28th.
Is the 8th. It's
I
the
don't-
last week.
Get back on.
What's that?
I have a yacht club meeting, membership meeting. That I've missed two of, but, sorry. I'm just saying.
Well.
Please, it's a whole yacht club.
I'm
It's
not gonna judge.
Yeah, it's not hoity-toity. I'm volunteering on a membership committee.
No.
But, if I have to,
Okay,
I'll just say I can't attend.
Nathan?
I
Tuesday, the
point my
28th.
other phone has the farm
about you?
schedule on it.
Me?
Yeah,
Tuesday
Tuesday,
the
the 28th.
I can do. Yeah.
Okay, we need to see if Abby can do, Abby and Cindy. Are you on those two?
Yep.
Oh, okay, great, fine, I'll let you do it.
So the Tuesday the 28th, right?
Tuesday, the 28th.
We'll make it work.
You'll make it work, okay. So we have 4, and Shondell is checking on the 5th.
Mhm. The 5th?
No, the 5th person.
Oh, I'm like, I don't have the 5th. Okay.
Who's on first? Oh, my God.
So, yeah, I don't know if we can turn around.
I mean, Abby, this is pretty rare for her not to.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
I would, but I don't know if she's involved in something else that she wouldn't be available on the 27th.
So, looks like we at least are in
28th.
agreement regarding April 28th, subject confirmation of the other members, but at least we know we have a
Yep.
quorum of 4 that can be there.
Right.
And then,
And quite frankly, I would prefer if it's 5, just because you don't know what can happen.
Someone gets hit by a bus.
It would be very.
She said that.
no, I
I don't intend to be there.
I do not like situations where I need all 4 members to vote in favor of something.
You know, I've been doing this for 20 years, and this is the first time that it's been like, you know, with down 1. Do you remember anything like that? I don't. Not struggling to find dates. And it's town meeting time, which just
Yeah, it's
adds
just the timing.
another ripple. You
I
lose a
understand.
week.
Did we agree that May 20th still works, or?
The 13th would be better.
So the 13th, I'm traveling for business. On the 14th, so I'm flying back on the 14th, and I could attend a meeting, assuming that there's nothing, you know.
Flight might get delayed.
Or the flight, yes.
Oh, God,
Flights could
somebody's
get,
having a baby.
flights could
people
get
are getting
delayed.
hit.
That is a very real possibility, but,
In this
again.
day and age.
Abby's answering, I'm just waiting for.
Okay.
And Cindy said, yeah, you said that, right, to the first date. That was the only date that she would. The
Does it
22nd.
matter if she's not
Did
here?
she, the 22nd, she
She's the
said
P.
yes, but now we're at the 28th.
Decision. She's not being for the decision.
She's still a board member.
Huh?
I don't know, we just have to get over the finish line. So I wouldn't.
No, unless we're gonna have a decision before the 18th, it doesn't matter.
Well, she said she was available on the
Yeah, I mean,
22nd.
she
Okay.
should come. She can,
Yes,
but we shouldn't
absolutely.
schedule around move days and schedule.
Absolutely.
So she won't be here.
So,
You can only miss one of the members for the final vote.
yes.
So we shouldn't.
So,
Add to
we're
warrant.
on April 28th, and now we're going for May. May what?
He said May 20th.
If you wanna do it,
So we could try the 14th, assuming the risk, and I guess if Ms. Riley,
that's, Ms. Riley will just have to sit that one out if,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what, yeah, I mean,
Well, you know what? You could do it, you could just, we don't have a quorum, we don't meet.
we're not gonna, I
Zoom?
don't know which microphones work. We're not gonna know until the very last minute. and
Right.
so
I know.
I would hate to inconvenience.
So Abby's not available on the 28th, and on May 20th, she's out of pocket till 6 PM, but that means she should be available.
What's that?
She said no on the 28th, available on the 20th.
so
Is this May?
May.
May 20th an option?
what happened
And
to,
that's May.
for
It's April 28th,
Oh, okay, so she's not available on April 28th.
correct, but she is available.
Well, it wouldn't matter at that point, because she would have missed two if we meet on the 20th.
That's right. That's a good
But we
point.
really should strive, like, I hate to say it, but we kind of have to work around her schedule.
Can she, what about
'Cause-
Monday, the April 27th?
Is it possible for her to participate remotely? Like literally the chair can offer.
I-
well,
I don't think
you can
No.
offer.
I don't think you can.
You can.
Could we do, unless we do the public hearing on Zoom, then
You
we,
don't have to
then,
do it on
if
Zoom,
we
it should
did
be
it,
a phone call.
well,
You
if
can have
we,
somebody call in.
that's what I was gonna say, on the 22nd, I could call in.
Yeah.
I just
A
won't
member
be
could
here.
call in.
But wait a minute, what's the deal with that? The rule on that is that you have to have a quorum
Present.
present, and somebody can call in.
Yes. but
So
that-
the
if
person
it's not-
calling in can't make the quorum.
But they still get a vote as long as you have a
But they
quorum in
didn't miss
attendance.
a meeting, and therefore,
Yes.
for the ultimate purpose of having enough board members to make the decision, it is an effective tool.
I mean, I think she's.
Or you could just conduct a Zoom public hearing.
That's what, if we did a Zoom public hearing on the 22nd, we could do that. I mean, that we might,
It does make things easier. I have Starlink.
All right, so what are we talking about now? So Abby's out.
All right, she's out all those
That
days,
week.
so.
is she out the 22nd too?
Yeah.
No.
April?
Of
22nd?
April.
Can I send the town the bill?
She didn't answer about that. Hold on.
So that's May that she said she's, is that?
No,
Oh,
she's
no,
at
April.
April, yeah, so April 22nd, so it's
22nd.
I don't know
If we
where
did
I
a
am.
Zoom.
22.
Put those away, Chair, could I just make one comment about the
But I mean, we really need to figure this
I know.
out, so, Jesus.
Move to jerky.
Do that.
What happened with the 28th? Abby can't make it?
Abby can't make it.
She's away.
That Monday, is
Right,
that?
can we pick the first
She's
date and the
available.
first date only?
April 22nd via Zoom. If that's helpful.
So she comes in, she's missed one.
If we have it on the 22nd, I will be there
Via
via Zoom.
Right.
I'll be in person, if it's in person, or is it
No, we
all
would
Zoom?
just do all
Yeah.
Zoom.
Awesome, okay.
Yay.
Which would,
What do we think? You're not available, right?
No.
but, no offense, you're, I think we can.
I don't think it's going to be a lengthy meeting. We're gonna come back with revisions to really the pavilion and some other details. It's not lengthy. We're not gonna be prepared to deal with any of the technical issues.
Okay, so 4/22, Zoom,
Yeah.
Mhm.
all right. And then what?
Okay, we still have an issue the week of the 11th, but
Should I post that
I think we would just do, if we do it the the 14th, which is that Thursday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can we use a doodle poll after, now that we've had the first date?
What?
Well, I mean, we just know that, all right, the first week of May,
Is
the first
out.
full week is out,
Yeah.
town meeting, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then we're into the week of the 11th,
Yeah.
and you're away on business.
Yes, but I could attend, I will be back on the 14th. I would, there is nothing that would please me more than to attend a public hearing on the 14th. I would do that for my love of town and
So
country.
I can't remember why we abandoned the 20th.
That's my favorite teacher.
20th,
I can't remember why we abandoned the 20th.
The 22nd?
it's after
Oh,
the election, I might
that's right.
not be here.
Thank you, that's right. It's gonna have to be the 14th.
14th it is. TSA.
We
right.
need you.
That's right.
What time is your flight?
It should get in around,
You sending a car?
2:44 PM. There should be plenty of.
Where are you
Where
coming from?
flying in from?
Florida.
Uh,
Correct, correct. Oh, I don't mess around with
Oh, it's
layovers.
direct,
Yeah.
we're
This, we should be good. We should.
Yeah,
You're picking me up.
I'm not sure we can provide a car because of the state ethics law, but
Precise.
Yes, there will be a
Precisely.
boat.
I'll come get you.
Yeah,
Okay.
the boat or Chandel, or I'll swim if I have to.
All right, so let's, if we, what? All right, so let's do the 14th.
At 7:30. Let's give us a little.
7:30, well, that's our usual time,
That
so
is.
that's a Thursday. Ho, ho, ho.
Does that work for you guys?
You're
Is
lucky.
that your due date? Is that what you said?
You're lucky, it was almost book club, that would have been like a,
Probably won't be able to come either way.
She probably.
yeah, I'm giving up the MS Gala in Boston, so I'm
Oh.
not gonna be able to do that.
oh, no.
It's okay, I'm still on the board, you still have to write a check, it's
Still
fine.
got it right, that's right.
Are you sure?
Yes, yes.
All right.
This is the one time a year I have to travel for business.
7:30, and that will be in person here.
Yes.
And we'll take it from there.
We need a decision date though. So we need a date
Well,
for
yeah, we need
extension.
an extent,
Right.
So that's Thursday, so I wouldn't be able
The
to
ex-
file anything until probably Tuesday, the 19th.
When do you need an extension by, please?
Well, we need the extension to the 19th, just to be able to file the decision.
Understood.
I mean,
We get jammed up, I mean, it doesn't have to be a one-time thing, but I need to keep a box around this for business reasons, so, thank you.
I understand, and you know that this board always steps up.
We're very grateful.
Yes.
We're very grateful.
I have to stick up for my board, because other boards are like, no, we meet on these days for this long, and that's it. So, I know we're still on. We're not adjourning yet, we're not done with our agenda.
We could try.
Would be,
done with the agenda?
But if it's related to the public hearing, which we would continue, should we have?
We covered 5 hours.
Do you,
With the boardwalk now being in front, besides the visual concerns, which I do have, I wonder whether it would have to extend to the pavilion. I just wanted to offer that as a suggestion since you're.
Does.
No, I think it might look better if it didn't. I'd also point out that those placards only show 6 structures, and there's 9.
we're aware.
Okay,
We're
I
aware.
didn't hear that
It
said.
was more, I would say, conceptual than,
Okay, okay.
Exactly.
I just wanted to throw that out as a possibility, you know, if you have stairs there and a lift, it might just give you more flexibility to make it more aesthetically appealing. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One other thing that may be helpful when you think about the shelter, lack of a better, pavilion, sorry. From what I'm hearing, it's like probably occupancy how many people could fit up there is gonna help people kind of figure out how they could utilize the space. So if you give us a general idea, that might help.
I think we were just talking about it. And maybe good learning lesson, our thought was try to see if the public wanted to shape it, but maybe we need to.
We have to define how it's gonna be
Yeah,
used
we need
and
to
present that.
say, yeah, and then if
And that will
people,
impact the architecture, and that will be it.
And I guess too, looking at the picture, maybe, and I don't know, it looks like there's just a bunch of columns underneath. Is that gonna be useful space underneath, or is that just dead space
That's
underneath?
something that we'll look at and address.
Okay,
Yeah.
great,
Keep in mind, we're in the floodplain,
yes,
so we're very limited what you could do at grade.
right, right. I mean, somebody could sit there. but-
yeah, I
Yeah,
think,
we'd open picnic tables
Yeah, we
and a
want-
spot
yeah.
to sit.
Is there anything else that the board wants to share that might help them in their
step.
understanding like where we're at? I have kind of a list of a few things. I'm just gonna jump in, okay? As view quarters are really important, I was looking at the landscape plan, and I noted that, some of the, trees and whatnot are kind of tall, and there was like a line of them, which would kind of really defeat that thing that we were looking at for the viewscape. If you could look at that and perhaps have more lower plantings, and some of the plantings didn't even have a height on them. But the ones that did, there's like a line of 10 trees that is kind of dead center that would kind of impact what everybody was really concerned about. So, if you can look at that. Somebody brought to my attention, another board member, the window placement between units. Are you staggering those so people aren't looking in, I'm sure?
Yeah, from one elevation to the next opposite elevation.
Right, okay. I noticed on the plans too, condensers, some units have one, some have two, and one has three.
Yeah, we'd have to look at that.
Okay.
Confirm.
All right, chief of police. I haven't, and I could have missed it. What's the trash situation?
I think we would propose private trash.
Private trash.
And
The-
individual barrels, for trash bins, and then do private pickup, unless there was, you know.
I guess the question in that particular location is, where are they gonna put their trash?
Yeah, we'd have to make a corral for the barrels to.
Yeah, because I experienced that myself, and it's not fun.
We can look at that.
Yeah, what's that? Yeah. Relative to, is this underground or above-ground service?
Good question. We talked about horizontal distribution underneath the boardwalk, so it would be underground till you get underneath the deck and then distributed horizontally up into the units. We're trying to have as few risers per unit as possible
Okay,
to, again, maximize the cleanliness of the aesthetic.
yeah. And then it just always, in these things, really work with the utility on placement of meters. Are you having gas in these or just electric?
It's something that we addressed actually, and right now we do currently have gas in them, but we honestly could look at that again.
Yeah, I've just seen some heinous, like,
Gas work,
you know,
yeah.
25 meters, and it just looks like, it takes a nice project and just kind of brings
Sure.
it down. I think the lighting plan needs to be updated.
Cause we didn't update that. with
No, we
the
didn't. With the-
new
What's
plan.
that?
We didn't update that, so
Yeah,
that's.
yeah, that needs to be updated.
Okay.
Relative to, this is a new one on my list, because this has happened in other projects, and I just want you to think about it and how you will address it. There's been instances now with projects we've had in town where you have tradespeople as the building is happening, and they're taking up parking that is residents parking.
Sure.
So I think you need to be sensitive to that.
Yeah.
Try to keep as much as possible on site. you know, so where are people gonna be parking during construction? Also, this project is right on a main road. Do you foresee, and I'd like you to think about it, that you might be blocking any part of the bike lane or the road during construction for any extended period of time?
The only time I could foresee that is when we get into some of the work at the curb, when we install the granite curbing and do some of that kind of work right at the line. Other than that, I would say probably not.
Not with the buildings itself, okay.
Not with the actual construction of the buildings. The final site work potentially, but we could communicate timelines.
Okay. And it's really great if there is anything happening with the roadway and so forth in town, please, like, contact, you know, you can always reach out to Chris and he can direct you, or Bart, whatever. And relative to, do you anticipate the parking for these units? This is another thing that we've recently discovered. Parking will be included with the purchase of the unit, not a separate fee or whatever?
Yeah, we plan to deed 2 spaces per unit.
Very good, because that's been an issue as well. That's, any signage? Would like to see that if there is gonna be signage, some, whatever it is. And I'm sure you're familiar with, relative to lighting, what the town's, bylaw is on lighting. That's it from me. Anybody else?
Question.
Lisa?
On the plans, it says, the height from mean grade to the lowest horizontal number is 15 feet and 3 inches. But when we did the walkthrough the other day, you held up the tape measure and showed 7 feet. You said this would be 7 feet.
Average mean grade is at 8 feet.
So you're,
Right, the plans say 15.
those are elevation based upon a surveyed datum versus how high it is. They're 2 different things, Ms. French.
How would you explain that then?
Sure, so
Because
if the
that
grade-
mean grade
I-
is at the road, at the sidewalk, you said 7
So
feet.
it's not 0 and 15. The site grade is.
I think 0 is actually based off sea level, right? So 0 is.
It's NGVD.
Right.
Sea level?
Yeah.
No, well, we don't use sea
So
level.
this is 15.3
No.
from sea level?
It's NGVD.
15.3 from sea level?
Maybe.
No, so they're different survey datums. One of the, a datum that's used for like docks and piers is mean sea level. I'm pretty sure this is based upon NGVD, NGVD 88. So the ground is, can you tell us what the?
Starts at positive 8.
Correct. So the ground is at 8, elevation 8. So the first floor, if it's elevation 15, it's only 7 feet. It's based upon a survey datum. It's not the building height or anything like that.
Is it the average of the grade from the street to, say, the water?
In this picture, this is gonna be 7 feet high.
I know that's what you said,
Right.
but looking at the drawings, there's a diagram, there's 2 places where it shows a line from.
It's showing you the
grade.
elevation based upon the datum. It's not the building height. You're confusing the 2 things. The building heights are all comply with zoning.
I'm talking about the plans, they actually
You're
say
not reading the
15.
plans correctly. Those plan elevations are based upon the survey datum. It doesn't reflect the building height. We could show her on the plan.
All right, any other concerns, questions for
Can
these guys?
I just say, it wasn't just my concern, you can disregard what I'm saying. The design review board, the architects were looking at it yesterday.
They were
And they
wrong.
did write it up in the comments that they did not think that that made sense, that they thought there was an error and an inconsistency.
Okay, we can look at it.
Okay. Anything else, people? Okay. That being the case, I would like to continue this hearing
So we're good,
What?
we're good with the decision to extend to the 19th?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Chris has an extension ready to be signed. Okay, great. Mhm. All right, so we have an extension till May 19th. Thanks, kids. Okay, thank you. So at this time, we are going to, no. At this time, we are going to continue the public hearing until April 22nd at 7:30, and that will be via Zoom. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, good night.
Good night, thanks. Okay, there we go. Thank you. The last thing, guys, because I know it's been a long night, but and if you can only think about this, and we will discuss it on the 22nd, yes?
Are you talking to the proponent?
Oh, no,
Oh,
no,
sorry,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Sorry, guys. The last thing on our not the last thing on our agenda, but actually, I think the only thing that we really need to cover tonight, we're gonna have to cover some of this on the whatever day we're meeting,
So are
the
we,
22nd.
okay, so we're not gonna meet on the 15th at all? Okay.
That's the board's pleasure. If we wanted to meet on the 15th to go over it,
Yeah.
that is something we could do. If y'all want to meet next week, and we can just go over these little things that we need to do before town meeting, I would not be opposed to that.
I'm supposed to have the motions in by the 13th.
What
for the
motions?
Zoning. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about was the flexible plan. So when we're doing, we've drafted the zonings,
Right?
getting into the warrant,
Yeah,
but there's still opportunity to make changes to it
yeah.
in the motion.
Mm-hmm.
So we met with the advisory board, there's a few things that they kind of flagged. And
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to run those past you guys, if you guys wanted to make, I know
Yeah.
it's late.
Okay, but this is important. So what,
Not too many things, it's,
okay,
first thing was, this is Article 28. Do you guys, I'm not sure what you guys have.
It's near the back.
Article 28?
Yeah, it's in the back of the packet. After the minutes.
I have so many papers, it's not even minorly humorous. Oh, is it in this? Nope.
Article 32?
What did I do with that?
That's,
32?
yeah. What, do you have
Article
something?
32, yeah.
32.
Okay, yep.
All right, so the first thing they hit was, section B3. It was concerned about the use, just straight up entertainment, that we had in there, as being just overly broad.
This is the flexible plan?
Yep.
B3.
I actually, if I can interject.
Yep.
I was gonna make a suggestion that for this year, because I think, I got heavy vibes from the advisory board, as well as, some members maybe of the zoning bylaw committee, that everybody was not embracing this and didn't feel that it had been totally vetted. I was gonna propose this evening, much to my own chagrin, that we rolled back and only did a few of the changes this year.
Well, that's what Chris had originally suggested.
I mean, do you wanna pull the whole thing?
Nope.
No, I don't,
Or you wanna do
No.
a couple?
I don't think we can pull the whole thing. I think we want to address certainly the height.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that it would have been, I think, ideal if we could have heard directly from the zoning bylaw committee, because we
Right.
never really got a dialogue with them on it.
We address the height.
Right,
Right,
right, but I
but-
think what we're saying is there is going to be, there's not, I don't think we're gonna get support from
Mhm.
the zoning bylaw committee.
Or the advisory
Or
board.
the advisory board on all of the changes that we've made. So perhaps what we could do is hone in on a few, the height being one, and maybe if there are a few others that, we can make this year, and then commit to continuing. One thing I wanted to, could we refer or give it to the zoning bylaw committee to have
Certainly.
them continue
Certainly.
to rumble through additional changes?
I think what would be beneficial after town meeting, if we decide to do this, is to have one meeting with them and say, listen, this is what we were looking at,
Yeah.
why don't you guys go take a stab at it?
Yeah.
And take it from there.
I would rather have them do it and be bought into it.
But,
But that's just me.
I'm fine, what do we actually want to change?
the height,
Okay,
have it be in line with the NBOD.
so height's 40,
What?
so the height is reduced to 40.
Right, it's the same as what the NBOD is.
Great.
And
What
then,
else?
change, zoning by, it's time to go. ZBA, change it to the planning board.
Okay.
And I think that Ed, I know he had concerns about the single family, like, we need to really suss this out, but I do firmly believe that an elected planning board that does these types of reviews on a regular basis is more appropriate than the ZBA, and Ed did not disagree with that. So I just think that is a better way to go, a board of 7 as opposed to a board of 3, elected, not appointed. And as much as it pains me to say it, I'm thinking those are the only 2 things that I would put forward for this year. And the reason I want to do that is because the community has spoken. Nobody wants height.
I think we should also keep
But I want density.
we're making sure we're consistent with changing appeals to planning board throughout.
Mhm.
And then we had added at its discretion in
Mhm.
H. Do we want to keep that as well?
We could, but I mean, anywhere where it says Board of Appeals changes to Planning Board and, the height. Chris, what do you think?
I'm just trying to think of how, yeah, I mean, that'll simplify things, I think, as far as,
Mm-hmm.
going over it with, with the town at the meeting. I'm just wondering how to do it in a motion, I guess.
Did we-
Just say, disregard what's in the warrant. This will be the changes that we're proposing this year.
And primarily because in presenting it, in talking to people about it, there was still not, it wasn't embraced and there were concerns. So that tells me, and it wasn't a concern about the height, And it wasn't a concern about whether the planning board reviews it or not. Those were not the issues that were raised as concerns. It was more other changes within, so I think we still need to be at the drawing board with this.
And it would allow us the chance to get the involvement from the zoning bylaw committee.
Absolutely.
And get their
And that-
expertise and.
That would be great.
So, is that just those two things, it's a vote?
The height and the planning board authority, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Do,
Is that, what do you guys think?
Yeah. Nathan? What do you think?
I think that's the reality of where we're at. I think it was an absolutely colossal waste of my time. I swear.
I hear you.
I don't
and
disagree.
I'm not in disagreement, but listening to.
I'm not angry about it. I'm just saying like,
No,
hey.
I
don't
agree
feel
with
any
you,
anger
You get a couple,
whatsoever.
like, this is
I don't
exhausting.
think we were able
Yeah.
to have the efficient meetings that we wanted to have around this for a variety of reasons, and
Yeah.
but I also think that perhaps, referring, further changes to the ZBC will
Mm-hmm. Right.
allow them to focus on it, when we have, much business at hand that we need to attend.
Right, and recognizing, as we had said, that we are gonna start approaching zoning articles right after, we're not waiting until September. This is
Yes.
gonna be something that's almost year-round.
Because we have other zoning that we need to attend to right after town meeting, including this, self-imposed
site plan, yeah.
site plan thing.
I
We
mean,
should-
we gave a good stab at it and, let,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old college try.
No one
Well,
can
I
say
mean, it's not like it's
No,
bad.
let no one say
absolutely.
we didn't try and spend time on this.
No, we've spent considerable time, but it didn't feel that it was ready for prime time. When you bring it out, we're sitting here and we're familiar with it, but when you bring it out to other people and they start questioning it,
Yep. And their
and then you
feedback was
say,
valid.
okay, all right.
This-
I mean, I respect the other boards as well, so I have a great deal of respect for the zoning bylaw study committee and listening to the advisory board. So,
Yeah, and I think that this will address the, major concerns, and I think there's something to be said for us reflecting on that and saying,
Mhm.
okay, we're gonna, make these changes and we're gonna keep at it in some fashion and.
yep.
Very mature, collaborative approach to decision-making. I move to adjourn.
No.
Wait a minute.
We're so close.
Okay.
Do we
You were
need to
almost
vote, we should vote on that.
Okay.
Okay, and this is just so everybody knows as well, because I'm sure people are watching as well, this stays within the scope of the article.
Right.
It does.
Because those things were addressed in the article, and we are deciding not to do the rest.
Right.
So it does stay within the scope of the article, which is very important. So, yes, let's take a vote that, we are agreeing that for this year, we will only, propose a change in height and a change in the reviewing, board on the flexible plan development.
Peyton, aye.
Do you have a second? You have to have-
Second, so was that a motion, Jeannie?
Yes, that was a motion.
Okay.
He said let's
Se-
take a vote.
Second, I second that motion. Riley, second.
Thank you. Okay,
Any discussion?
discussion? Let me start to my, left.
Peyton, aye.
Schulte, aye.
Riley, aye.
Paquin, aye, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. And,
I'll draft a motion and send that out to everybody.
thank you. Everything else okay with those?
Yeah, the rest of the zonings were fine.
Okay.
I don't remember, do you remember the advisory board having any other issues with the rest of it? I don't think so.
No.
No, I think they were okay with it.
No. Would we like to continue the rest of this? Is there anything else that needs to be attended to tonight, Chris?
Are we meeting before town meeting at this point?
Oh,
Meeting on the 22nd.
I mean, we could just quickly go over the easements. I mean, we can do this in 2 minutes.
It's the Paracon Dune. It's
Right.
at the end of the packet.
okay.
So there's 2 easements that are going before town meeting, to give the select board the ability to approve
the easements. Two of them they will have to do with Paragon. One is the Art Walk easement that we required. So that easement was shown in the plans. And the approved decision required that this is the easement space that was gonna move forward.
Okay,
So that's one. The other one is, when they're putting the power lines underground, they're gonna put an empty conduit in there and give that conduit to the town, or give the town the ability to use it for whatever they wanna use it for in the future. So those are the two.
okay. That could be useful. All righty.
And we have the letter of resignation, which I think everyone has read.
Yeah, and, yes,
I think you should just acknowledge it. And
yeah,
public.
our member Cindy Borges is resigning effective, at the election. I appreciate all of Cindy's work, her attention to detail, and, it's unfortunately, she's leaving us, but, what will happen, for those who do or don't know, after the election, the planning board and the select board, will have to advertise and, for a new, member. And, it'll be a joint meeting of the planning board and, Board of Selectmen, and we will appoint a new member.
And that is by Cindy's request that
Yes.
she resign after the election.
Yes. Yes. So there we are. Chris sent out an update today, which, everybody can peruse at their own leisure. And, is there anything else, Chris, that we want to share?
We can talk about, the road closure that's
Yeah.
happening at,
Go for it.
so Paragon there's two things coming up with George Washington Boulevard. One is that they need to close the boulevard for 2 days, I think next week, to bring their underground power to Jake's, as they're putting the lines underground, so power there. And the other one we're meeting on tomorrow, there's a proposal to close off a lane of George Washington Boulevard, northbound.
Right.
And the town's meeting with DOT and DCR to try to push back on that.
Is that, you're suggesting a permanent change for the second one? No, just a-
For a few months, though.
It's,
So,
well, it's for now, until November this year, and again next year.
I'm sorry, for what purpose?
Yeah, what's the purpose on the second one?
'Cause
So they can do
so
their,
where they're building, the Paragon along George Washington Boulevard, DOT wants to allow a walkway from the DCR lot through to the beach. And so their proposal, DOT's proposal, is to close off a lane to allow people to walk on the lane of George Washington Boulevard, so. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
it doesn't make sense, and the town wasn't informed. The DOT just gave the permit, and no one reached out to Hull to say, hey, how's this work? So, the one that's happening next week is just a, the one happening next week is a 2-day, 7 to 4.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And how is that, because the feedback before is that the public didn't know, so how is that gonna happen?
What do you mean, what?
About closures and,
I think
and is
they're gonna put something on the website
Mhm.
showing where the detours will be, things like that. For
Okay.
Will there be
Assuming-
something on the
Alert
fun flashy
system.
signs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that, because otherwise.
They should do that.
People, I don't check the website every day, although
Right, I know.
sure I should.
Is it appropriate to go out as an alert or no?
I don't know, that's kinda up to town manager and police chief.
Police chief, I mean, he even, you know, what's that?
A longer term closure.
No, for 2 days.
No, for 2 days, like even one of those, whatever you call those signs, maybe in the Parrot parking lot
Yeah.
ahead of time or something. Because obviously, the way the closure will work, it will be better if people just totally avoid it than go down by Duncan and then have to go up, you know, it's a little crazy. And it's unfortunate it wasn't, they weren't informed before, because like the chief of police is like, well, no, you don't wanna close, they were doing two places for the police to be, and he's like, no, you wanna have 3, because, and that's like local knowledge, which it's really unfortunate that didn't happen, so, that's happening, and, yeah. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Well,
And I will be on the call, so I'll let you guys know. So, is that everything?
I think so.
Well, either way, good night.
I move to adjourn.
Oh, music to Nate's ears.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.